high-level drama and top-tier gameplay, what else would you expect from the final week of the regular season in Clash Royale League West? These are the top 5 plays from Week 8, and before we get started, of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, never miss a moment of the action as we go right into playoffs. And right now, we go right into our opening play. It's Dignitas against Misfits. Dignitas needing the win in this match to keep their playoff hopes alive. Lince against Air Surfer playing 3.0 Expo, one of the best Expo players to ever do it, in a difficult E-Barbs Royal Giant matchup. Yeah, you heard me right. E-Barbs are all over the place now after the recent buff. And look at these final 10 seconds. So close in a spell cycle situation. Expo wants to get on tower. Can it get on tower? Very, very close. Fireball puts it right there. And check this out. Log comes in on the left. Expo to the right. And just barely a couple of ticks away from winning, but Lince keeps the playoff hopes alive by 42 HP against Air Surfer. Big time clutch for Dig in that one. On to number 4. Same match earlier in the match though. 2v2. It's Air Surfer and Wings against Codigo and Flash. And check out the defense here against this balloon clone push. Easily cleaned up, and now the pressure on the right-hand side and some beautiful opportunistic geometry with that Magic Archer. And when the pigs come down, that's way too much fireball value. Codigo and Flash had to spend it there, but what does that mean? Well, we're in a spell cycle race, boys. That means they cannot beat the foot race on the left-hand side. Air Surfer and Wings with a huge come-from-behind victory. Heads up, high-tier gameplay in the 2v2. On to number 3, Sergio Ramos against Razor. Razor, the King Killer, going to set up a nice sequence here. P.E.K.K.A in the back, Fisherman up front. Sergio Ramos goes to engage on the right-hand side, but check out the cycle work here from Razor, because as that goes through, he gets back to another Mama P.E.K.K.A. Sergio Ramos was not expecting that. Look at the body language on the left. He's going, okay, oh no, okay, and watch this Fisherman just go to town, bringing stuff in for Mama P.E.K.K.A. over and over, feeding her elixir, feeding her troops. You know, they say, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but if you teach a man to play fisherman, he will eat all of your troops in a 5-minute matchup. Here we go, on to number 2. Javi Catorze making a rare appearance in 2v2 because, of course, SK Gaming has already clinched that number 1 spot at this point. And look at the defensive freeze on the right from Team Liquid. Javi might not be a 2v2 player, but he understands as well as anyone when your opponents overspend in the right-hand lane, time to double down with your teammate in the left. Hog Rider comes in, Lumberjack comes in, Musketeer stays on the board, Freeze gets it done. Javi and Morton get a nice win there to cap off the season. On to our number 1 play, Pompeo of Chivas Esports, one of the most popular ladder players of all time, playing the Pompeo deck. Balloon, Miner, left-hand lane, Miner comes in onto that Hunter, a zap to retarget, Balloon sneaks right on through, Fireball not gonna be enough, and Diego E knows he got. Nice play. Let's go ahead and look at that one more time. Nice, zoomed in and slow to see Pompeo doing what Pompeo does. The Miner comes in, the Hunter was on the balloon, but the zap for the retarget, this is what he's known for. This is what he does well. A fan-pleasing moment in the last match for Chivas Esports in our 2020 fall season. I hope you guys enjoyed all of the top 5 highlights from the regular season this year. And of course, if you like CRL, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're here for the playoffs as our top teams fight for a chance to go to the World Finals this December in Shanghai, China.
finta.
Four in a row for Team Queso.
It's semi-final Sunday, and we have 4 teams vying for a shot at being the Clash Royale League Fall Western Champion. Will it be the high-powered team of all free agents assembled from the biggest names throughout the world? Will it be the homegrown squad built from within a system designed for Clash Royale? Will it be the team of rookies continuing their Cinderella story, or will it be the former Western champions looking to grab one trophy on their way to a world championship? Hello and welcome. I am Rich Slayton. As always, my friend Andrew Guy right next to me to talk you through all the action of this great day of Clash Royale League. SK Gaming versus Pain Gaming, Tribe versus Team Queso. Andrew, this is the big one.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to go. It's going to be a big day. 2 very, very different matches. Guys, hello, welcome to Sunday. Welcome to our semifinals. Are you joining us on YouTube or are you joining us on Twitch? Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you're following us on Twitch. Go ahead and throw a sub on Twitch as well. Why not? Doesn't hurt anything. Also, turn on those notifications. It's very, very important. Hopefully you're here right now because you already turned them on, but also we have our finals next weekend. You don't want to miss them. Turn those notifications on. And also, how you guys been doing with Fantasy Royale? Yesterday I had Michifu RF, and of course today I've got Morton. Also, I sprinkled a little bit of Ruben there, so I had a pretty good day yesterday, but a lot to be told today. Will SK be able to take down the rookies, or will Queso continue to ride on Ruben? Really, really exciting. One of these guys may be our world champions, but one thing's for sure, all 4 of them are going to World Finals in Shanghai.
That's going to be absolutely huge, Andrew. 4 very talented teams, 4 very different stories. The hard part's already over to a certain degree. They are going to the World Finals. They will face a pretty nasty lineup there in Shanghai this December in just a couple of weeks. But before that, there's a lot of money on the line, a lot of pride on the line, and of course, a CRL Western Championship.
Absolutely. And to get to that championship, we are in a BO5 format here in the playoffs. We're still starting off with 2v2. Then it's going to be 2 1v1 sets, followed by, if necessary, a third 1v1 set, and then if we get there like we did yesterday, we will go to King of the Hill, a last BO5 between both squads, winner take all. That is our playoff format moving forward today, and of course, for our finals. Rich, let's talk a little bit about what happened yesterday, and then let's look at what's going to be going on today.
Yesterday, one of the best matches we've had here in CRL West. It was Space Station Gaming against Pain, and Pain turning things around, winning back-to-back sets in the 1v1 fourth set, and then a King of the Hill sweep by Wallace to put the rookies all the way into that semifinal. And on the other side, Team Queso triumphed over Cream Royale Betis with a bit of a surprise win in 2v2, and then Ruben doing what Ruben does, continuing to be the best player in the league.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tough for them to pull off that 2v2 win again today with how strong Tribe is, but first up, we've got SK and Pain Gaming. Number 1 versus the Cinderella squad. 2 very different teams when you started looking at this season. But of course, when you look at their 2v2, that's where things start to get much more even. The 2 best 2v2 squads in the league are facing off today. Sam and Morton, 82%, and of course, Pain Gaming just below 80. Let's take a look at our predictions. No surprise here, Rich.
Yeah, everyone picking SK in the first one except for the Brazilian casters. Bruno and Deco going with Pain, and on the bottom side, everyone going Tribe. And I don't think this is an indictment of either of the 2 teams that aren't being picked. It's more of a conversation about how good SK and Tribe are, and more importantly, how hard it is to prepare for 2 BO5 sets in back-to-back days over the course of the weekend. Maybe we'd have a more even split if all 4 squads were coming in completely fresh, but with Pain and Queso coming off of arguably the more important match, the qualifier for World Finals, it's a really hard lift for them. If they do win today, it's a huge upset and a great feather in their cap.
Yeah, it really does feel like we'll have 2 big upsets as a possibility today just because Tribe and SK have been so strong. And getting back to SK versus Pain, number 1 Cinderella squad, they have truly turned things around on Pain Gaming with their 2v2. And then yesterday, Wallace stepping up with an incredible King of the Hill sweep.
Well, it's a story of two different organizations. SK's always been at or near the top, in championship matches over and over again. Pain Gaming, their first time in playoffs, first time going to World Finals. This is going to be a great one. Let's jump into it. SK Gaming, our leaders, against the all-rookie squad, Pain Gaming.
Recuerden que en la temporada regular se enfrentaron a estos dos equipos y le ganaron con un mortem gigantesco en el 2 contra 2 y después terminando de llevarse a dos jugadores en el rey de la pista ganando 2-0. La situación es distinta, ahora venimos con un 2 contra 2 muy bueno, con un Wallace caliente, con un Sweep caliente y un Vitor también que está muy fuerte. Espero que esto sea una gran semifinal y que todos estén tan emocionados como lo estamos nosotros.
SK, el número 1, el que empezó arriba y terminó arriba. Y del otro lado Pain, la historia contraria, el que empezó abajo. Nadie apostaba por ellos y con muy buen Clash Royale y trabajo consiguieron llegar a la cima y ahora quieren ser los número 1.
Pain Gaming thrilled the entire world of Clash Royale with their huge win over Space Station Gaming to secure a spot in World Finals. Now they have a chance to add to that legacy. A win over the leaders, SK Gaming, would be massive, but that's so difficult. SK Gaming looking for their second Western Championship here against Pain. Cannot wait to see the veterans up against the rookies.
So here we go, number 1 against number 5, our Cinderella story in Pain Gaming going up against SK Gaming. What's crazy about this is who has the better 2v2? Is it Pain, Lucas and Wallace, or is it SK's Morton and Sam?
Bom, acho que por conta desses motivos, uniu razão e coração e acho que vai dar Pain Gaming surpreendendo por conta do 1v1 que tá muito forte atualmente. Eles vêm com muita moral e vai dar trabalho para SK.
SK contra Pain Gaming, o primeiro lugar do grupo contra o único time brasileiro restante na competição. Vai ter hashtag GoPain no chat, vai ter um jogão na tela.
Two very different paths on one side. Was it ever really in doubt? Not for SK Gaming. On the other, fighting through adversity to make it here for the first time in the org's history. Pain versus SK.
That's right, SK Gaming coming off of a very incredible record of 7-2 this season. Javi, Morton, Sergio Ramos, and OP Sam, they have been our leaders all fall, and I doubt they're going to be taking a backseat today to Pain Gaming, but you never know. Pain Gaming has done some incredible things, winning 5 of their last 6 matches.
Pain Gaming, it's all been the turnaround. We've talked about it a lot of Lucas going into the 2v2, but the big surprise yesterday was losing the 2v2 and then the head-to-head play of Pain Gaming finally paying off for the promise. Lucas and Wallace, the 2v2 duo, Sweep and Vitor, the head-to-head players. Of course, we'll see them all mixing it up today as we go through this best-of-5 sets.
Yeah, you see there Sam and Morton having a good time, all smiles. Same with Wallace, and I'm assuming Lucas probably is as well. All 4 of these guys got to be hyped. They know this is probably going to be the best 2v2 set that anyone's seen in CRL West, maybe also even in the East. Wallace, Lucas banning Fisherman, Sam and Morton banning Tornado. Let's go!
Semi-final number 1. It's going to be Wallace and Lucas, top of your screen. Morton and Sam for SK Gaming down at the bottom. Open up minor low here for Pain to start things off.
Yeah, I like it. I like that we're seeing minors here. Minor is seriously one of my favorite win conditions in 2v2, and it just makes it so that your opponent has to always be looking to catch that little guy.
It's going to be pretty fast cycle and no surprises out of Pain Gaming, although yesterday they did give us a bit of a juke as they went with Golem and then Lava Hound. So went heavy yesterday, but today against SK choosing to really turn up the speed.
Like that. I like that right there. They're letting SK know we're here, we're ready to go. We are just as good as you are. You see the E-Barbs at the bridge catching that giant skeleton. The pre-log comes out, catches the heal spirit. Pains, Wallace, and Lucas are ready to go.
And the second time, I believe, Andrew, that we're seeing Electro Spirit come out for Pain Gaming in the 2v2. So very interesting to see them incorporating that with so many troops on the board. Typically, 2v2 tends to be a little bit heavier in its construction, but we'll see how they get some good use out of it today.
So it looks like we're going minor wall breakers with a little bit of E-Barb's Hunter in there to get some DPS on the board for Pain Gaming. Actually, throw a Dark Goblin in there as well. They're covering all their bases here, Rich. You're seeing the giant skeleton, or excuse me, you're seeing that the E-Barbs are going to help deal with the giant skeleton. You're seeing the wall breakers are able to create offensive pressure. You got the miner to go in on the back, and they've also got a ton of DPS to help deal with graveyards or balloon pushes.
And that giant skeleton bomb not going to do much to help anything, and we do finally have a building coming out. The bomb tower for Pain Gaming, who coming into this weekend, 10-1 was Lucas and Wallace as a duo. Of course, the loss to AC and RF yesterday in the opening set washed away there by the end. On the other side of things, and you're talking about Morten and Sam, who've been so good for so long. Morten, number 2 on the all-time 2v2 set wins list at 29.
Yeah, he's just so dang good at 2v2. Him and Sam truly are always a treat to watch play. High Miner there looking to pick up some sort of DPS unit to get on top of that Valkyrie. SK doesn't bite. Instead, they set giant skeletons up in both lanes.
And that giant skeleton almost goes back to make some room for the Valkyrie on the right-hand side. Instead, turns around just in time and plays a little bit of defense. E-Barbs to meet up high, and the giant skeleton of SK Gaming almost working against their own Hog Rider there for a second.
Yeah, not able to get around, getting body blocked by that big guy. And the biggest thing here for SK Gaming is they are having an impossible time getting through to that tower. Between the bomb towers, the hunters, the snowballs, and the Electro Spirit, as you can see right there, really having a difficult time. Great timing from Wallace and Lucas as well.
Yeah, I gotta wonder if they try to find some other way to create some tower damage and start using those Hog Riders primarily as a distraction. Good pickup, and they went to that low spot one more time on the bottom side, and this time SK Gaming was ready.
Yeah, I think what they need to do here is get some presence at the bridge, use that Hog Rider, like you said, to bait stuff out, and then try to get Earthquake and Magic Archer damage in. The only problem is that Lucas and Wallace are so good, they're going to be avoiding that Magic Archer at all costs.
Slight lead at the moment for SK Gaming, 16-21 to 16-38, so not a lot separating these two. Miner goes right to the Magic Archer, but the log actually works against the Miner of Pain Gaming, moving the Magic Archer out of Miner range, and now that poison will clean up the rest of it.
Yeah, Wallace and Lucas maybe trying to get a little bit too fancy for their own good. Sam and Morten going to deal with this Hunter, and then they're going to try to get something going here on offense.
You know, I'm wondering at some point if they throw the first Hog Rider from the middle to get at that bomb tower, and then second behind, and maybe try to create some geometry on the left-hand side, and that is quite a bit of damage on the right.
Yeah, they're actually able to sneak that Hog Rider in. Sam and Morten's pressure is starting to become a lot for Wallace and Lucas to deal with. They do have a lot of DPS, but it's all single target DPS. So when they're getting this dual lane pressure, it becomes really difficult to focus fire down the units that they need to.
That Magic Archer on the right-hand side was absolutely huge, Andrew. Got, I think, 4 or 5 shots, a nice little log. Bit of micro in the non-micro version of Clash Royale to create a lot of damage. Final 20 seconds, and right now, looks like SK Gaming is going to run away with this.
Yeah,
one.
this is why SK is so frustrating to play against. They're a team that never gets caught in a bad rhythm. If they see something that's not working, they change it up, they improvise, they evolve, and they make it so that your opponent, or their opponents here, in this case of Pain Gaming, their offense died right in its tracks for the last half of that game, it felt like. Look at that, Sam and Morten squeezing by with some incredible defense.
Yeah, the adjustment was really, really solid out of those two, and you know, you're going to go back and probably see that Magic Archer in the replay, I would guess. It was absolutely huge. And you look at the margin between these two at the end, 3-0-1. If they got on that Magic Archer earlier, Pain Gaming wins this one.
Yeah, and it all started with the very first Magic Archer with that log miner that came in trying to get a little bit fancy. Then they have to end up using the poison up high. All of these things, mistakes beget mistakes, cascading mistakes. It makes it so that there's not enough elixir to deal with certain things in certain places. And if there's anyone that knows how to put up the pressure, it's Sam and Morten. So that's exactly what they do. They turn up the heat, they make you make mistakes, and then you just hold strong with their defense.
But you talk about the ability to make course corrections in the middle, and we'll go ahead and take a look at this action here and come back to that thought in just a moment. So we see at this point that's a nice log going to help get the bomb tower out of the way, and I believe this hog gets one critical shot. It's this next sequence, though, Andrew, that's going to put the game away.
Yeah, I felt like they had to climb a mountain just to get that one hog hit in, but it was a perfectly timed Heal Spirit that comes in. And so we see, again, pressure on the right-hand side. Hog Rider in. Look at this great Magic Archer plus log. Resets everything. Heal Spirit comes in, allows it to get 2 more shots in. That's why Sam and Morten are so good. They never hit panic. They always know what they need to do. You and I were talking about it on broadcast. How do we make it so that, or how does SK make it so that they can get on offense? They use that Hog Rider to bait out spells, bait out units, bait out defense, and then they get that Magic Archer to squeeze in and sneak in those piercing shots.
Yeah, very, 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 very nice work. You know, we're talking again, as I was saying, back to this point about the ability to course correct. Right, Sam and Morton have good win rates overall in 2v2, right? 62% for both of them. But when we talk about the set wins, Morton tied career-wise overall at 35 with GodRF for the most set wins throughout all different sets in the game. And Sam is number 4 on that list at 27. Oh. Both of these guys, and when you talk about set wins outstripping your game wins, what that means is that no matter what, in a best of 3, when you lose a game, you're not worried about losing the set. You're someone who is able to make adjustments going into game number 3 or going into game 2 if you're behind. And that's what SK Gaming is great at.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of the best 2v2 squads, and I think SK and SSG are two of the great examples of losing a game in that 2v2 set, seeing what their opponent comes out with first, seeing the way that their opponent wants to play that day. Are they playing aggressive? Are they playing more passive? What kind of win conditions are they favoring early on? Then let's adjust our decks, let's adjust our play style, and then move forward from there. As you saw, again, in that game, it felt like Sam and Morton were kind of playing from behind for about half of it. But then all of a sudden, before you noticed it, you just recognize they keep getting chip damage on that right-hand tower, and Wallace and Lucas just cannot get through it. As much as I love Miner as a win condition in 2v2, you really are putting yourself in a tough spot because that's the best way to get damage on tower. So let's hop into game number 2 here and see if Pain Gaming switches it up. Maybe gives themselves a little bit of a more favorable win condition. They can do a little bit more damage.
And here we go, looking like it's going to be quad bait out of Sam and Morton, and a little bit of cheeky opening there, feeding both a Valkyrie and a Hunter.
Yeah, and I wonder if Lucas and Wallace are expecting this, as Sam and Morton do really like to go quad bait after picking up game number 1. They do vary up their strategy quite a bit, so it's not as simple as that, but it is something that they have done many times before.
That's a good double-duty bomb tower there, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get 4 to counter 6. Nice work out of Pain Gaming.
Yeah, and you can see the elixir on the screen as evidence of that great play.
In 2v2, at the moment as a duo, Lucas and Wallace are at 79% on the season, even with the 2-1 loss yesterday to ACNRF. Very impressive overall. 5 sets won, only 1 set lost. On the other side of it, Morton and Sam at 73% on the season, 7-2 in sets.
Yeah, just incredible.
Well, it gets even crazier, Andrew, when you start adding in the head, if you go for the overall win rates. Morton right now, overall win rate on the season is at 76%. There are not a lot of guys ahead of him on that list for the season, and one of them, of course, is the great Ruben.
He's just unstoppable. 2v2, head-to-head. We know we're going to see him in one of those 1v1s today. It'll just be about who he matches up against. And right now, Sam and Morton behind again in this 2v2 early on. Not something that you want, or a position you want to be in playing quad bait, but the other thing is quad bait can catch up very, very quickly. Snowball on one side for wall breakers, log on the other for that skeleton barrel.
Valk should get far enough in front of that Hunter to not get the splash. No, didn't quite get there in time, so a bit of a missed time out of Pain Gaming, and that might be the kind of opening the SK needed.
Yeah, high bomb tower here actually still going to help out with the Mega Knight on those E-barbs, so not the best use of elixir for Sam and Morton, get that Mega Knight up that high, but still in range of the bomb tower.
Final 35 seconds of regulation time. At the moment, the lead still holding on for Pain, 1868 to 1408, and of course that poison will add a few more pieces in that right-hand lane.
Really nice Mega Knight there to get on top of the wall breakers. High Dart Goblin here to help out with anything at the bridge, and there that is. Hunter plus Bats. If they can keep this Dart Goblin alive, no, not able to do it. Good job there by Pain Gaming.
Very interesting triple bait drop on the right-hand side. Skeleton Barrel inside, Skeleton Barrel outside. Maybe they were hoping against hope to get that bomb tower out of the way before the second one popped.
Yeah, I mean, if you look here, Rich, Fireball, Log, Snowball, Hunter, Electro Spirit, Poison, all of these are great response. Look at that! Mega Knight leaps on the tower. Just as I'm talking about all the great responses in the hand for Pain Gaming, SK gets a big, big swing.
And SK does get that second Mega Knight down just at the right time. Mini P.E.K.K.A behind. This is a huge, huge swing towards Pain, or towards SK.
Great high skeletons there to keep that Valkyrie in place. Barrel coming in now that we got tanks across the bridge. Log does get those goblins off the board.
I'm very curious to see if, so far we've seen Pain go inside, outside, or go outside. Have not seen them go inside because concerns about that King Tower activation. Very curious to see if they maybe take the snowball out of cycle and then go inside on the next one.
Electro Spirit plus bats. Goblin Barrel in the back. Hunter is there and will clean it all up. 0 damage taken. Sam and Morton are doing everything they can, but not getting much out of it.
Final minute, triple elixir, double drop to pick up the miner. Neither one of those two drops pick it up as the miner goes to the high inside spot. 49 seconds left. Let's see if Pain Gaming can hold on and send us to number 3. Goblins to the outside, log out of cycle. Goblins high inside, and they do get a couple of stabs.
Timing off by just a half second there, but still beautiful execution by Sam and Morton. 385 in, snowball in, poison on. Everything ticking in, miner still there. Pain's, Wallace, and Lucas evening things up.
Very, very nice work out of Wallace and Lucas. The matchup was very nice as well, but Morton and Sam were just not able to get the pieces they want out of cycle for the defense of their opponents.
Yeah, and there was a couple moments there where they were given too much value to one spell. You saw that great double barrel late game. If they would have gotten that second barrel in maybe a half step later, or yeah, I think that's really the only way to do it. It would have missed that first log and we would have gotten just a little bit more damage from those goblins. But truly, I think if you look at the decks here, Lucas and Wallace were looking for this matchup.
Yeah, no, this might have been what they were looking for in game number 1, and it was a good deck selection from Morton and Sam. Maybe they were thinking that Lucas and Wallace wouldn't double down in game 2. Instead, they went ahead and did it, and there was a moment there where it felt like Morton and Sam were to take control of the game, but the Brazilians did lock things down very well and make sure they didn't lose focus in those key moments.
Yeah, it was really just that one Mega Knight connection that made it look like this game was much closer than it really was. You see here, Mega Knight leaping in on that miner, goblins to the back, Valkyrie's caught behind, as is the Hunter. That's why we get the damage in. Poison comes as well with that Hunter shotgun shot, and all of a sudden it felt like Sam and Morton were going to be in this. They maybe even win this, but Pains, Lucas, and Wallace just really, really doing a great job with these bridge battles, doing a great job contesting the DPS of Sam and Morton, and of course, keeping that Mega Knight at bay.
Well, the great thing for this from a matchup perspective on their side as well is as we get into triple elixir, they know there's literally 0 chance of them losing a spell cycle race.
Yep.
They have Fireball, Poison, Snowball, and Log, and their opponents have 3 of those 4, missing one of the 2 big spells.
Exactly.
So they know they're not going to lose that. It's just play good defense, don't let damage get on tower, and keep yourself just enough ahead, and you're not going to have any problems in those final stretches.
Yeah, and when your opponent's biggest guy is the Mega Knight as opposed to something like a P.E.K.K.A, it makes it so that those bridge battles become exponentially more winnable when you look at the composition that Lucas and Wallace had. You don't need a ton of small units to soak up those big shots. A Valkyrie plus a DPS unit like a Dark Goblin or Hunter is really going to help keep that Mega Knight in place. So let's go to game number 3 now and see what decks these guys come out with. Sam and Morton may be getting caught in game number 2 by the analyst of Pain Gaming.
Yeah, and Pain's been good at that this week. We saw that yesterday with their matchups against Space Station, and same thing today. I know that there's been Pain, at least in the head-to-head play, there's been some discussion back and forth about maybe how outside of the realm of common decks you go. We'll see if they get into that in the head-to-head play, but so far their analysis team definitely earning their money this weekend.
Yeah, and it looks like we might be going back to a match or a game number 1 rematch here, if I'm not mistaken. I see Miners and Wall Breakers again. We're seeing Giant Skeleton, Lumberjack, Magic Archer, Hog Rider from SK. So we might be seeing the same thing we saw in game number 1, which did go to SK by just a bit.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you talk about 2v2 in the best of 5 format, right? When you're talking about it in the best of 3 format, you can really prep 3 2v2 decks. And as a King of the Hill player, since you're not playing in 1v1, you're able to prep 2 or 3 head-to-head decks and not really think about that weight so much. But when you're talking about a best of 5 where you think you're going to play a 1v1 set and then maybe King of the Hill, the number of decks you have to prep goes up, so it's not surprising to see these 2v2 duos essentially running 2 decks over the course of this set rather than running 3.
Yeah, that's a strong point you make. I mean, it is not easy to just pick up these decks and become as good as these 4 gentlemen are in any competitive play. I mean, talking with AC last week, he was talking about how much time he spends just building decks, trying them out, watching them fail, and then adjusting.
Final 15 seconds before double. At the moment, it is SK Gaming in the lead. Lumberjack comes back around to pick up the miner as we go into double elixir time.
Yeah, both these squads playing real quiet, real slow here, and I think this is a bit of a tribute to how well SK played in that first game. Maybe Lucas and Wallace getting a little excited in game number 1, now slowing things down, slowing the pace a little bit, and looking to pick up some of these connections with the miner on the left-hand side.
This is really small, Andrew, but that timing on the Hunter of the left-hand side, just waiting long enough to make sure it targets the wall breakers as opposed to targeting the miner. It's a very important but key element to play in this game correctly.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you also pointed that out, because it's something that a lot of people at home may not even notice why that interaction goes so poorly for them and so favorably here.
Miner trying to protect the Hunter on the right-hand side. Giant Skeleton, though, will make that Miner kind of a moot point. Here we go, sudden death overtime. At the moment, it is SK Gaming in the lead in the 2v2, but the young upstart duo certainly keeping things close.
Yeah, this is not exactly where you want to be against SK. Sam and Morton having a lead in this type of matchup where you're looking for all your damage coming from spells, miners, and of course the wall breakers connecting for Pain. This is a tough place for them to be in. Sam and Morton do not sacrifice or give up damage very easily.
Well, you see one of the hard things about this, Andrew, for Pain Gaming, and we just saw it a moment ago, where you saw the log and the snowball both come out from SK on offense, and Pain tried to go wall breakers to the left on defense, but the Hunter was there to pick up the wall breakers. So just when you think the opening is there, it's not. And as I'm talking about that, Pain Gaming does take the lead by a couple hundred HP on the right-hand lane.
Yeah, Sam and Morton need to make something happen right now. They're poisoning out the tower underneath that Hunter, going to get some good value there. Pain going to go back on offense. Maybe we see, a Hunter here. Once again, Hunter has been doing a lot of work for SK, but they're still behind by about 200 damage. They're going to have to start either spell cycling, maybe looking for another Magic Archer connection.
And a lot of fireball value right there in the middle. The freeze comes in, and the Hunter, or the Musketeer, is distracted by the Giant Skeleton, and that's a huge hit, 737, and now it's SK with the lead.
Yeah, I couldn't remember in game number 1 if we actually ever saw the freeze come out. I know I did see it in the hand when we were looking at the stats after the game. So you see there, Sam, I believe, pulling the trigger on the freeze, doing a really, really nice job. Heal Spirit comes in, allows that Hog Rider to get another hit. Not quite as much as they would have loved to see out of it, but a very, very nice hit nonetheless. Look at that. That's going to do it.
Oh, huge sequence there at the end. The Heal Spirit keeps the Hog up. The freeze comes out at just the right time, and by a hair, the Hog finishes that tower. Sam and Morton win the opening set.
The timing of Sam and Morton with their defense, with their offense, whatever it might be, it is breathtaking. Look at those 2 hog pushes back to back. They do the same essential thing. It's just a late freeze, a perfectly timed Heal Spirit, and a 1 HP hog sneaking on through, despite whatever their opponents drop. Sam and Morton do it again.
Yeah, brilliant play, and that's the level they're at. And let's be very clear, Lucas and Wallace played a pretty darn good set, especially in that situation, but in the end, we talk about those little adjustments, and Sam and Morton knowing when to play the right type of sequence at various stages in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas and Wallace did a very, very good job in that set, and I don't think either of us would have been surprised after we saw the way the first 2 games went if they had taken it. And this was a big turning point for them. You see this late bomb tower come down, looking to make some work happen with that skeleton barrel, but they also have to double drop a giant skeleton because they recognize that the skellies popping just are not going to go down quick enough. So giant skeleton down with the bomb tower. It's almost a double drop, but it actually turns into a pretty good moment of offense here. You see the fireball come in, look at that freeze, and look at that Heal Spirit. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, that was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's such a huge shift in the game at that exact moment, taking the lead back. And the freeze high at that moment, it's such a scary freeze to play because you misplay that high freeze and next thing you know, you just wasted a ton of elixir. Instead, works out perfectly. You see a similar sequence come in on the back end, and there you go. Sam and Morten doing it one more time.
And you know what's so cool about that is they kind of executed what you talked about in game number 1. It was like, when are they gonna go in the middle to go right at that bomb tower? So that's what they do that time with the Hog Rider. Goes right into the center of the map, does end up get taken down, but it demands so much attention from Lucas and Wallace. When that second Hog Rider does come down from Sam and Morten, perfectly timed, have you, comes right on through. All those DPS units just got finished shooting, so they're all off timing. Then the Freeze and the Heal Spirit come in again, and it's just chef's kiss from Sam and Morten.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. And you look at Lucas and Wallace playing that fireball with the E-barbs there on the right-hand side. Yep. You play that and you're like, cool, we've got this hog handled, and now it's just about putting more damage on tower. But the freeze with the giant skeleton tanking those musketeer shots, the Heal Spirit comes in, all comes together so nicely. So SK Gaming wins the first set, which was what was expected, although Lucas and Wallace put up a pretty good fight. And now we head into the first of our 3 1v1s. And my guess is, Andrew, that there's no one on either one of these teams pulling double duty in the 1v1s today.
Yeah, I mean, when you have squads that are this strong, I mean, I feel like all of our finalist teams, Pain, Tribe, and SK, are going to be like that. Team Queso is kind of the unique one with Ruben, just because you always want to see him in as many head-to-head sets as you can. I imagine we're going to see Javi first here from SK Gaming. I think they want to come out and get as many wins as they can. They don't want to go to the 4th and 5th set. They don't probably feel like they need to if they strategize correctly through these first 3. As he said, SK was expected to win the 2v2, but Javi is also expected to win his 1v1 set. So that becomes a moment of Pain Gaming wondering, where is Javi going to come out? How do I strategize against him? Who has the best matchup, if anyone? And how in the world do we get one of these first 3 sets off of SK Gaming?
Yeah, I mean, the big question is what we talked about yesterday, right? Do you send out the brash confidence of Sweep, or do you send out the guy who's got more accolades in Vitor? And that's a really, really hard question. The way they've been playing lately, I don't know. I kind of feel like I want to see Sweep against Sam, if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down for that. I think you bring out your best guy. I think you expect SK, knowing them, they probably wanted to take the 2v2. They just want to come out with Javi. I think you go Vitor. He didn't have a great showing yesterday, and I think he can bounce back. And here we go. It's going to be Vitor's smiles on his face with his signature green headset. Javi Catorce on the other side of it, locked and loaded, focused up as always. Let's hop into the first game of this 1v1.
Yeah, I think this is the right call, going Vitor. He's been recently, in particular, in more situations against players of this caliber with some of his tournament wins as of late. So I like the call, and just from a fan perspective, the idea of we could potentially see a Sam versus Sweep matchup does really tickle me.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll see that in our second 1v1 set. And yeah, man, Vitor is a guy that, he came out, took down Flash and Codigo when they played Dig, and then after that, when they played Queso, he did get the sweep. They did beat Team Queso. IMJP, Ruben, and Kuchi all fell to Vitor. So this is their guy. And if anyone can beat Javi for Pain, it's got to be Vitor.
Of course, that's a very difficult ask for anybody. Javi is so good in BO3s. And, we talk about it a fair bit, but he's one of those guys who isn't really known as a ladder player, but you put him in a set in a full-length set as opposed to just a best of one, and he's real nasty.
Yeah, and you see that snowball coming in, Javi throwing out the oops, thinking his Electro Wizard was going to stay alive. That would have put it back in attack range. So an early mistake here from the SK Gaming representative, and Vitor going to take advantage of it as best he can here. About 12 Elixir coming across the bridge.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty nasty turn here.
Ooh, he misses the pushback.
And that cage, yeah, not going to do it. And that's going to be game number 1. You see Javi kind of scratching his head going, oops, uh-oh. And that's going to be a tower down and a very, very difficult come from behind here for Javi, especially playing Graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, Javi looked like he got hit in the face by his own misplay. He could not believe that did not push back the Royal Giant right after the bad snowball on top of the Electro Dragon. I mean, if anyone can come back from this, it is Javi, but it is a very, very tall order.
Yeah, and, you add in a King Tower activation for Graveyard as well, and things just not quite going the way of the head-to-head specialist Javi Catorce. Although we talk again about the ability to bounce back, the ability to correct, and we're talking about those guys who have most set wins, 24 career set wins. on a 61% win rate. So this is another guy who is very, very good at winning a best of 3 in a full 3-set match.
Yeah, and props to Vitor here, playing really, really clean Clash Royale. He allows that one graveyard to come in with the help of the Goblin Brawler, obviously, but like you said, gets the King Tower activation, now just doubling down on defense on the left-hand side. Javi calling out, well played, good game. He knows what's up. That was a really nice play by Vitor. Vitor pre-drops the Electro Dragon so that the graveyard becomes less effective. Hunter can't cross the bridge and get tanked for because of that Dark Prince. This is a big moment for Pain Gaming.
Yeah, pretty huge win in game 1, and not just big for Pain Gaming, but big for Vitor, who's had a lot of moments where you really feel like he should get the win, and then one little thing goes wrong this season, and this is one of those ones where he just did everything right.
Yeah, exactly, and Javi did everything wrong early on. So you can see Javi's still smiling. I'm sure his coach is going, look, forget about what just happened. We've all had bad starts, and that was the definition of a bad start. So probably picking a different deck now, and Vitor, I think Vitor just sits back and goes, that's great. I got a game essentially given to me by massive misplays. Yes, he capitalized on them, but that's as good as it gets for Vitor. I mean, look at this. Goblin Cage doesn't push it back. Fireball comes in. You see that the Electro Wizard is off the board still from that the Electro Dragon that was there earlier. Brawler does pop. We see a graveyard come in, but as you said, Rich, he does get that King Tower activation right there. So the damage is nice, but really Vitor does take the win in that column as well.
Well, from a game planning perspective, I really don't know if SK was expecting to face RG Electro Dragon today. It's not something you see a whole bunch. Royal Giant is everywhere, but we're so used to seeing Royal Giant, Hunter, Fisherman, Electro Wizard, that sort of combination. Instead, seeing a very different look for that Royal Giant. And again, talking about a game planning perspective, this is why we talked about some teams maybe hiding certain decks for the new meta as we moved in, and a great pick today for Vitor.
Yeah, I really like that deck, and I think that slight nerf to the Electro Wizard is now going to see an uptick in the Electro Dragon just because it's going to provide a lot of that same stun utility. But that 3 shock is really, really great when you talk about supporting any big unit coming across the bridge. It's really going to help with all those DPS units they want to drop right on top. So I've said it since it joined the game. I love the Electro Dragon. It's a tough card to play against. I think the mechanics of it are fascinating. And you saw right there how brutal it can be. That high Electro Dragon got rid of that Electro Wizard, which baited out the snowball. It was all these things that were mistakes out of Javi because of that one card.
So we're going to jump into game number 2. Vitor with the advantage, and so far the second verse looking very similar to the first. It was yesterday where they dropped the 2v2 to Space Station Gaming, then came and roared on back in the head-to-head play. Can Vitor do the same thing Sweep did yesterday and win that opening 1v1 BO3? Let's jump into game number 2 right now.
Good luck's coming out from both sides here. We said Vitor top of your screen with one game in hand after SK takes that 2v2 set.
And Vitor going Barb Hut, and Royal Giant directly into the Barb Hut. Early and aggressive for Javi.
Yeah, Javi playing very, very aggressive today. You see what he's going for here, trying to get the positive trade, maybe one shot on the tower. Not going to happen with those barbs. And the Baby Dragon there. A full bar of elixir to deal with this defense.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by the way that Javi played that, just because I thought that he would have been setting that up for the Fireball. If he had the Fireball to go to play on those barbs and the Baby Dragon on the right, it would have made a bit more sense. Either way, still comes out without too much damage. Just 2362 on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, probably just trying to stay on offense there, and nice NATO here from Vitor to mitigate that damage for a -1 trade, and Javi goes right back on offense. Javi playing hyper-aggressive, and I don't hate it.
Yeah, it's interesting. He is... You do want to play Royal Giant at the bridge in single if you're going to play it in single elixir, so he's doing the right thing there. And it's very curious. Javi's good at mixing up pacing, and we're seeing him go pretty fast today, and maybe it's because he wants to get as much damage in single as he can before this deck starts to pick up speed in double and triple elixir.
Perfect timing there from Vitor. On that Battle Healer, doesn't trigger the Royal Ghost until after the Princess Tower's on the Electro Wiz. Battle Healer stays alive, both units go down, great mitigation. Javi, though, not giving him a moment to breathe, and it's looking like some stinky cheese up in here.
Yeah, he just does not want to give any opportunity for Vitor to start building those big nasty pushes. So this is why we're seeing the huge aggression. Whoa, what a nice lightning to come out there, and that's why we didn't see the fireball earlier.
Exactly, and you see the frustration. You were kind of halfway through explaining it. It's just he's not going to let him get that E-Golem down. He's going to keep staying hyper aggressive. This deck cycles very, very quickly. He's got to make sure that you can't get that double dragon battle healer purple guy up front push that we all hate to see.
And look at the Royal Ghost. Look, trying to get this Royal Ghost directly onto the to the Barbarian Hut. Great job here taking some cues out of what we saw from Ruben earlier this season. But now here's the big question. What do you do when all this starts stacking up?
Uh-oh, that's trouble. That's trouble. The one Electro Dragon stays on the board with the lightning coming in. Javi is getting lower and lower on Elixir. A lot of purple on his side of the map, but he does have a substantial lead. Oh,
if this Royal Ghost can get moving a bit faster.
No, sir.
Lightning does not get the Electro Dragon off, and Vitor is going to take a 2-game sweep. And oh man, you know, all Javi can do is kind of shake his head. He knew what he had to do early on, just wasn't able to do quite enough of it.
Yeah, that deck is so very frustrating, and you heard me kind of hit the oh no or the panic button when you saw that lightning come down at the bridge. Doesn't hit the Electro Dragon, instead hits, I believe, the Battle Healer, the Baby Dragon, and the Golem instead. And that is not the I believe that's last game's stats that we're seeing on screen. But yeah, I believe it hits the Elixir Golem instead. There we go. Thank you so much, guys. I hate this deck, Rich. I hate everything about it. I hate playing against it. I don't even like playing it, but you know what I do love? I love winning. And if this deck is going to get you Ws, Vitor happy to roll it out here in game number 2 for the quick 2-up, 2-down over Javi 14.
And this was some of those early moments here, Andrew, where, you know, it felt like Javi had the idea, but we now we're sort of understanding a lot more of that aggression once he saw the pieces come out. That Javi was just going, I need to try to win this thing before the Elixir starts stacking up. And this was a really good opportunity. You see the NATO played. That means Elixir is very, very low. Lightning comes in, and this was just one of those moments where you started to feel like Javi could get it, but as soon as double hits, Vitor's deck just gets so much more dangerous.
Yeah, and there's that lightning right there. Yep, Battle Healer, Elixir Golem, Baby Dragon, Electro Dragon untouched, Hunter up high, but that Hunter is going to do nothing when you get NATO'd all together with both those dragons right there. Another high Hunter to help out, but a brilliant heal spirit by Vitor. I mean, these are the other things that are important to recognize. Yeah, you and I will give this deck a really hard time, but you still have to play well with it to beat someone like Javi. And by the way, this is the first person this season to 2-0 Javi 14. So Vitor coming out first for Pain Gaming, doing an incredible job and evening things up. I mean, we're back to 0-0 as we enter set number 3.
Yeah, no, very, very nice work. So now we move on to a BO3 sets from this point onward. And yeah, you got to wonder now, what does Pain have up next? You know, you have, I think you bring Sweep back out again after the performance he had yesterday. Hyper confident. And again, just from a personal perspective, I really want to see Sweep versus Sam happen. I'm hoping that's the matchup. My guess is that Morton is set number 4 for SK Gaming. So I'm guessing Sam comes out next for SK.
I would agree. I feel like you just took every word out of my mouth. I would love to see that matchup. It makes the most sense to have Sweep or Sam in the second set of 1v1, just because, and it feels wrong to say it, but they are, I guess, the weaker of the 3 best on either team. As weird as that is to say, because they're both so good, and we saw what Sweep did recently with that great sweep, and we've seen what Sam can do, but it's actually going to be Wallace coming out, so you and I do not get our wish. Sam is going to be up next. Wallace, after a great King of the Hill sweep yesterday to defeat and eliminate Space Station, back out.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a great performance. Definitely earned his spot. And Wallace is a guy who's been in 2v2 all season, hasn't really had a chance to play any 1v1 sets. So this is one of those few ones where it's a good chance for him to get in there. You know, this match matters, but it's not critical as much. And Wallace, no questions asked, is a talented head-to-head player.
Yeah.
You know, he was great in CCS. And oh boy, this is going to be a big one here. 8K player on ladder. Wallace can ball.
Yeah, this is going to be that Mortar deck with Rascals and Cannon Cart. Pretty strong. You see a Mortar connection there. Rascals Girl is going to walk down that left-hand side. One of them will get a little bit of damage in if Sam decides to ignore it, and he does.
Sam going with the Cannon Cart version of 6 Loon. So maybe a little bit heavier. We'll see how much pressure Wallace puts on early in this one.
You see Sam cycling that Baby Dragon, just looking for any bait to come at the bridge from Wallace before he wants to get back around to his 6-man, which is something he's going to want to use a lot to help defend the front and the back end of this deck he's playing against.
Really nice little protection sequence out of Wallace.
Yeah.
This should give him, at least, if not a little bit of damage, going to give him a nice little chunk on the elixir, because that bar barrel coming out to protect the spear goblins gave them so much added value throughout that entire sequence.
100%. And now you see Wallace defending very, very cheaply, going to clean this up really well, and probably try to get right back on offense. Spear Goblin's going to cross, see if Sam plays anything, and then maybe see a high mortar.
Yeah, Sam just goes ahead, just chooses to eat the damage and reset. Wallace has spent the last year and a half or so really trying to make his case for CRL, like a lot of players. Was part of the Clash Contender Series, organized by the Mobile Mat, which was a fantastic kind of opening of the semi-pro scene in 2019 to really step up to another level, and then was part of Space Station Academy in No Tilt League. So really been putting a lot of effort in, and happy to see it pay off with not just a Clash Royale League run, but one that's taken him all the way to World Finals.
Yeah, it really is exciting to see this Pain Squad going to World Finals. I truly believe they deserve it. You know, we were all worried when they had that vacated win early on, but able to bounce back, do some incredible things this season, and I'm very, very proud and excited for them to go to World Finals in Shanghai.
So going to keep a lot on the board right now is Sam after that Fisherman takes the cannon cart down.
And Wallace is...
We'll see at some point when he decides to go and pull the trigger on the balloon again.
Yeah, and Wallace has been playing incredibly, incredibly patient here. I mean, really doing a great job of never getting too aggressive. And he's got that really, really big damage lead on the left-hand side. And he knows he can just keep slow playing this and just find those moments to get a little bit more damage in.
That cannon cart was really, really good for Sam. Really excellent, and now putting a bit of pressure on the right-hand side. Mortar will pull the balloon, but take a look at how much Sam has on the board right now.
Yeah, he's got the Hunter and the Royal Recruit working down that left-hand side. Great arrows come in. A better Skeleton Barrel to keep that Baby Dragon right there locked in the middle, but Sam has started to turn things his way. Baby Dragon to get on tower after the balloon drop and death damage.
And Wallace, I'm not sure, but Wallace may have been able to get a King Tower activation with those Spear Goblins being one tile lower. So a possible missed opportunity there. Arrows should be back in cycle for Sam, but expect to see him wait a little bit, kind of long again on this one.
And look at this placement of that cannon cart. When the mortar goes down, the balloon's going to go to the cannon cart and then drop. See, look at that. Really, really nice placement there. The timing ended up working out in his favor regardless, but it would have made it so that that balloon had to do one more little bit of work before getting the actual bomb drop on tower.
And here's where those arrows start to play a big factor. Just has to stop this Skeleton Barrel from connecting. And right now, with 40 seconds left, it is Sam in the lead with a ton on the board in both lanes.
100% feels like Sam's going to take this now. You see the Baby Dragon connect on the left-hand side. Balloon untouched still. Late fireball. Baby Dragon behind, going to clean that up. And then the freeze again. Sam playing so patient as always.
Yeah, this was really, really nice out of Sam. And, you know, again, we talk about fighting back from adversity, fighting from behind. And Sam has a long time been a really, really talented Clash Royale player. He's, you know, he has a first place finish on ladder. And he's a guy who you've seen improve from being an interesting, creative player, the mad scientist, as he was dubbed in 2018, to becoming truly the next level elite. And a lot of that has just been the maturity growth.
And one of my favorite things about Sam is he's like, I'm still going to play my game. This is still a pretty off-meta deck here, or at least, let's say a swerve on the meta here from Sam. You know, we haven't seen anyone else run this exact, 6-loon freeze with Cannon Cart deck this season, I believe. And it makes sense that Sam would want to run something that is strong in the meta, but just a little bit off of what you'd expect.
Yeah, no, this is really beautiful, and the use of arrows here. I mean, this is kind of a risky deck to only have one true damage spell. Playing the freeze is always a gamble to a certain degree. But he did a great job here. He talked about the patience, Andrew, of being patient with those arrows, really forcing Wallace to put a lot of targets on the board. And you see right here, the way he gets them out at a perfect moment to just go ahead and get that finishing blow.
I mean, it's one of the most frustrating things when you're playing a deck like that Wallace has, when you have so many units that can get cleared off the board with those arrows. When that balloon's coming in, you have to go, all right, how do I want to defend this? Well, first we're going to use our mortar, and then I guess we'll use our goblin gang or our rascals, but we need to save the spear goblins in case the spell comes in. So it becomes this really like wait and see. And you saw there at the end, Sam waited. He saw all the units come down. He drops the arrows, and then he still had the freeze. So again, saving that freeze till the very end can always pay dividends, but it was really about controlling the game with those arrows. Sam doing an incredible job of that.
Yeah, it was very difficult for Wallace to get damage on those balloons, and Sam capitalizing, as you said, over and over again. So we go into game number 2, Sam having the lead, and this is a big moment for Sam because while he's been a talented 2v2 player, obviously, and had good 1v1 moments, since that opening season where he came late to TSM for the North American Fall Split, he hasn't won a 1v1 set. He's had some tough moments in these 1v1 sets when he's had opportunities. So this is one of those ones I know matters a lot to him, just to sort of show the CRL fans that the level he brings to ladder, he can also bring to 1v1 play here in the league.
Yeah, that's really surprising, actually, when you say that. We're going to hop into game number 2 here, is because we have seen him have a good amount of success in King of the Hill, but just not translating that success over to 1v1. Obviously not having a ton of chances to play in the 1v1, but still, it is a surprise to think that he hasn't picked up one of those in, I guess, 6 seasons now.
Well, I remember how frustrated he was in the fall 2019 split when SK Gaming won the Western Championship. They were all celebrating. He was downcast because he lost his 1v1 set. He was really upset with himself. So it's one of those things where he's a competitor. He wants to be at his best, and I have a feeling that he really thinks of this as a great season, an opportunity to show all the facets of his game.
Yeah, and he wants to be there for his team, right? He wants to make sure that they can rely on him, not just in the 2v2, but when we get to those BO5s, as we do a lot in the big-time competitions, you need a guy like Sam to come through on your squad. And so, like you said, it was actually a pretty fascinating thing to see him as frustrated as he was with himself after winning the championship.
And that Mega Knight super tanking for the graveyard. The skeletons. Not going to get the King Tower activation for Wallace. So another missed King Tower opportunity turns into a ton of damage for his opponent.
Yeah, the Mega Knight was kind of confused there for a minute, and then the skeletons got bored with him, walked away, and went towards that graveyard, resets the Mega Knight, and it's nothing but trouble for Wallace. You saw what he had planned, at least, but instead ends up taking a ton of damage. Luckily enough for him, though, he was able to get that tower down to 998 early on.
Yeah, this is a good situation for Wallace at this moment. It's going to be difficult for him to play some defense. He has some abilities to do so, but it's one of those ones where getting that damage back was so critical. And if Sam can't hold off on that damage in these next minute, it does become a lot better situation for the Brazilian.
Yeah, Wallace, it feels like, will be in trouble as this elixir starts to flow a little more quickly just because of the lack of DPS on his side of the board. The cycle ability is very tough to keep up with, but he does still need to take one tower. So Sam going to defend pretty easily there with that cage, and now it's going to be all about Wallace. Defend, defend, defend.
And here he goes for the King Tower activation, but... Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's not the right King Tower activation. You gave up the tower, and now we're going to get the stop on the hog. And here's the thing, is in a 2-tower game, this becomes very, very difficult for Sam. And I don't know if he can keep this tower up the entire time. I think he can probably counter... Oh, no, now that we're down to 20 seconds, he should be more than capable of keeping that tower down. I don't love the hog that Wallace put in the left-hand lane.
Yeah, I mean, there's if you look at Sam's hand, or if you look at his cards, there are so many things there to positive trade or even trade that Hog Rider and then turn it into a counter push. So you understand what he was trying to do, but it's just kind of an empty notion.
Oh, that EQ got in just in time. Last second. But again, now the damage lead on the left-hand side. Normally a 2-tower game is rough for Graveyard, but look at how far ahead Wallace is now.
Yeah, 950.
Sam is.
Yeah, 884 now remaining on that top left tower. Mega Knight back down, and yeah, 2-tower game can be tough for Graveyard, but it can also be tough for Hog Rider when you have all of these responses. So Wallace just trying to start cycling early.
Yeah, but now you see the Mega Knight going all the way into the bomb tower, so tanking both the King Tower and Princess Tower. Going to get a swipe on that left-hand side. That's a GG. That's a well played. Sam, despite the last-second tower give, you see a little bit of a breath there. Getting the set win, a very important one here for SK.
Yeah, big one there. SK back in the lead. That's a really frustrating set for Wallace. Not only were there some big misplays there, but there was also just some interactions that didn't quite bounce in his direction, especially those skeletons early on to activate King Tower. And then it was almost like his pride wanted to activate King Tower the second time we saw the Mega Knight come across. He does the King Tower activation with the skellies, the archers behind, but the tower falls and ends up kind of just helping his opponent out there. So not the greatest matchup for Wallace. You look Hunter, Fisherman, Goblin Cage, Mega Knight. Those are all great ways to deal with the Hog Rider.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be that first failed King Tower activation into the big damage. So you're going to see the skeletons here. I think they're played, it looks like in the right spot. Maybe just the timing was a half step off.
Yeah.
As you see the Mega Knight kind of step inside towards the Princess Tower. And that's just a massive amount of damage early. And then, yeah, this Hog Rider to the left, I understand you're trying to make him spend in the opposite direction, but I don't know, that wasn't going to do a whole lot here, and doesn't really give you much to play defense with either.
Yeah, it's one of those things where your brain tells you, oh, I usually will do this thing when this is happening. I'll create opposite lane pressure when I'm getting a big downhill push on my other lane because it'll demand attention from my opponent. The problem is when you look at this matchup again, it's not going to really demand anything out of your opponent other than an even trade or a negative trade. So Wallace going for maybe what has worked in the past in different matchups, but in this one, it just was not going to happen for him.
And you see the bomb tower being played low by Wallace rather than being used to set the line high. That means the Mega Knight comes in and tanks both the Princess Tower and the King Tower rather than letting that King Tower work on that graveyard defense. So just a couple of things where some weird choices in the matchup coming out of the Brazilian, and now this gives a nice set win for OP Sam and the 2-set advantage for SK Gaming going into the fourth.
Yeah, going into the fourth and final 1v1 set, and you pretty much imagine it's going to be Lucas and Morton, right? I mean, I'm a little surprised we're not going to see Sweep, but it does feel like it will be Lucas and Morton battling it out. Obviously, both of these guys are going to Worlds along with Team Queso and Tribe Gaming December 5th and 6th. Local time, and of course over here in the States, December 4th and 5th at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Join us. Rich and I will be there virtually. We'll be here, though, hanging out with you guys. And so will all 4 of these squads. It'll just be about who ended up taking that almost $100,000 in the West, who ended up taking home that gold medal.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be, of course, a lot to fight for here. You know, SK Gaming really wants to add another trophy to their chamber, but World Finals, and again, if you haven't yet, make sure you hit subscribe on the YouTube channel so that you don't miss that at all. Get your notifications on, because a big one, World Finals, depending on where you are, that timing might be a little bit off, so make sure that you are notified when we get started. And here we go, the 1v1 set we expected. Morton with a chance to close out semifinals in this best of 3 against Lucas.
You know what? And I'm just going to do it now because we just did the whole thing. Let's shout out Fantasy Royale because Morton is on my lineup. I need him to put up some crowns right now. He got 2 in that 2v2 set. I am never going to win the 250,000 gold or 100 gems, but I'm at least excited to be here.
Yeah, looking like Morton going graveyard. I'm super annoyed because, again, as I said, I missed it by 1 minute, my reset, and have a player who's not in playoffs. So a little frustration there at the end for me, but, you know, maybe if I had notifications set, I wouldn't have missed it.
Should have listened. Here we go. So, yeah, as you said, Morton looking like he is going to rock that graveyard top of your screen from Lucas, most likely. Oh, there they are. The E-Barbs coming out. World Giant?
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be RG E-Barbs, and this is one of Morton's favorite decks on his side of the board, so very interesting matchup here between these two. First minute away, and so far, no significant damage, just about 90 HP hit on the right-hand side of Lucas's board.
And that timing was a little off. I was going to say, I think that was off, but maybe Lucas was going to teach me something. That Heal Spirit not doing what he wanted to do allows that Mega Minion to get a hit.
Morton is still 5th all-time on the 12-in Grand Challenge list. He's maintained that spot pretty consistently. 448 total GCs, of course. The current Grand Challenge total leader remains B-Rat, I believe, at 580 now.
Just insane. I'm still looking for that first one, Rich.
I believe in you. So as we get closer to double elixir time, no one has really taken a super aggressive step yet. The Royal Giant, the most significant offensive attempt made by either player so far, and as you can see, not much to show for it.
Yeah, beautiful timing on that bar barrel. Just hits that heal spirit at the peak of its roll and pops out. Electro Wizard has to come out in response. Doesn't want to take 2 more hits from the Barbarian, as you saw happen earlier on from Morten.
Now you see that we are in double elixir. It switches from the Royal Giant at the bridge to Royal Giant in the back for Lucas.
Oh,
Snowball trying to make enough room, and that balloon does not quite escape the Hunter E-Wiz combination.
Yeah, so close. Snowball pushes things, so they reset onto the miner, but the balloon does go down just in time. But Morten probably making Lucas sweat just a little bit there. Didn't spend a lot, but almost got a bomb drop.
We saw a fair bit of this deck yesterday, Andrew, and you know, with the snowball use, we saw it used both effectively and ineffectively, and the big difference was whether or not you had another troop to pick up the attention of the Hunter or the E-Wiz when you did get that snowball in. So we'll see if Morten can find ways to get that second level of distraction as he goes for those big-time balloon pushes.
Yeah, and Morten looking like he was getting a little overwhelmed. They're able to defend, but an RG is on the board, and they have even elixir, so Lucas up about 6 right now.
Way behind right now is Morten. You see him cycling the miner in the back. It's easy to just hold strong the best he can against this one, but this is going to be a tough out for him.
Yeah, and that's a really smart play, you know, for you guys at home watching. If you feel like you're stuck and you know a big push is coming down, a lot of times you'll want to send in that miner just to maybe get something out of your opponent, but cycling it on defense, he's got a good tank ability to him. You got to use him.
That defensive sequence Morten just put up in the middle was absolutely gorgeous. The bar barrel came out, didn't get the heal spirit. The snowball did, popped it into the Barbarian, and then he stuck all that right in the middle for the bomb tower death damage. Very, very nice out of Morten.
Yeah, and that's something you have to do if you're going to play bomb tower as you're building. You have to utilize that death damage. You have to go out of your way to make sure units stay in it, in that radius, to get that damage down.
Interesting here, not going to worry about the heal spirit this time is Morten. Instead focused, of course, on the Royal Giant on the left-hand side. Elite Barbarian not going to get away. The Knight does come out at the end to pick up that extra damage, and as we go into the final 35 seconds, it has been all Lucas on offense.
Yeah, I mean, Morten going just for straight minor chip damage to win this game is going to be really tough when you're talking about playing against the win condition of Royal Giant. You talk about Royal Giant getting to triple elixir with lightning. Really, really difficult. So now the balloon finally coming down again for Morten. It's almost like you forgot he had it, and it's cruising right on through.
What a gorgeous, gorgeous play out of Morten. The Lightning trying to finish things off. That's not going to do it. Morten comes from behind, and that sequence at the end, you saw him eat the damage on the right-hand side, make the calculation, push on the left. Beautiful play by arguably the best in the world.
Pray to whatever German god just did that for you, Morten. You saw the little look up right afterwards. That was an incredible, incredible sequence. 100 HP remaining on that right-hand tower. A late lightning coming in after the Royal Giant. Morten doesn't blink. He goes heavy on offense. Second balloon down after the first drop to win the game. That was magnificent. We gotta look at it in the replay, and I feel like Morten can't even believe that he was able to sequence that, but I've told this to you before, Rich, the guy never gives up.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've seen about him for now coming on into 5 seasons of Clash Royale League. He is so good under pressure. I'm a little curious about that lightning out of Lucas. I think that lightning might have saved the game for him if he'd put it on the left-hand side. We'll go ahead and jump into the replay here in just a moment. And this is one of the earlier sequences where I believe this is a lot of damage coming in from that Royal Giant, or this might be the defense from Morten.
This is the defense, because I remember I was talking about the miner cycle early. So check this out. Bar barrel in early, snowball up high, bomb tower there to help out. There's the death bomb with the Knight. Boom, blows up those 2 units. Second Royal Giant comes down. This is a brilliant high bomb tower. Yes, the E-Barb gets a little bit of damage on the right-hand side, but that's not what Morten's worried about. He's worried about everything coming in on the left towards what was originally his weaker tower. That was some stellar defense. Now let's look at another great defensive sequence that's going to turn into a game win for Morten.
Yeah, you see the lightning come in here and you go, oh, this is this is the win for Lucas with that lightning with the Royal Giant on the right-hand side. Now watch this cycle that comes back around on the left. The snowball, of course, coming in, and again, with troops to distract. That's the big key here. But check this out. Lucas is going to come back around, and as that balloon is hanging out on his tower, gets its first shot, what does the lightning do? It tries to get more damage on the right-hand side rather than play defense here. That gives up a second balloon shot. That lightning comes out on defense, and I think that Lucas might be able to hold on for the win.
I mean, it doesn't even need to be a lightning, right? It could have even been like an Electro Wizard on the balloon and then maybe a unit up high to catch the E-barbs, but it did feel like Lucas just kind of hit panic in that moment and just goes for the offensive lightning. That sequence was one of the greatest I've seen in what feels like forever. I mean, Morten gets that great defense lockdown on the right-hand side. He knows he has just enough. The balloon comes down right after the Royal Giant, right? So he's already so far ahead. He cycles the archers in the back. He's ready with the bomb tower, knight up high, and we're going to hop into game 3 as I just keep gushing over this play. And then the balloon comes out with the perfect bar barrel to soak up the entire Hunter shot. That's what happened there. Snowball in, balloon on tower. We're going to game 2.
Lucas going with the spears high to open up, so might be looking at mortar in some variation out of the Brazilian, and Morten goes possibly back to a similar look in this one.
Can't get over that push. It was just so perfect.
Yeah, it was nice. Now watch us go try it and totally mangle the whole thing. Oh, interesting, going minor Skelly Barrel, so this is probably a balloon deck as well.
Yeah, looking like balloon, and then on the other side of it, maybe mortar triple spell.
And that giant skeleton is way inside. Snowball takes care of the spears, and this is going to be pretty annoying for Lucas. Doesn't quite get the drop on that tower, but takes off the firecracker. Good damage, and even on Elixir, but different on the towers at the moment.
Yeah,
as we go past the first minute of gameplay.
That's a win there for Morten, and you see Lucas dropping the WoW, maybe thinking he could have dropped his firecracker, maybe offset to the right-hand side instead, wouldn't have walked into that death damage, but prevents the drop nonetheless, which is the most important part. And playing against Morten with a high cycle deck and balloon as his win condition, and that's never anything you love to see.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see if Lucas does himself go for a King Tower activation, does have the mortar and NATO, so could do it with the balloon fairly easily without taking damage on tower. So far, the miner going to the safe spot repeatedly. Keep an eye on where that tornado is when it comes to the cycle of Lucas as time goes on.
It's going to be really hard for Lucas to get this damage in on tower with anything other than spells and maybe some firecracker piercing shots, because with only the spear goblins and the firecracker to attack air, I think he's going to have to save that mortar mainly for balloon defense.
And you see that minor loon going right in on the left-hand side. Snowball takes care of the spears, and a second mortar high. And so this deck does cycle very quickly, Andrew.
Yeah.
Using some high mortars to slow down or course correct might be some of how he gets us one shot here, one shot there.
And he's doing okay right now. I mean, they're even in Elixir, but you see a giant skeleton on the board as opposed to a firecracker, so that does give Morten a bit of an advantage, and that's not where you want to be with this deck. So Lucas just needs to clean up his defense on this push, get a little Elixir back if he wants to stay in the lead, and that balloon completely looking like it's going to avoid the mortar, goes right back to it. Lucas playing pretty well right now.
Yeah, and here goes the King Tower activation finally for Lucas, and that's going to continue to force that miner to the outside spot. That mortar placement, or that building placement against Balloon is always so nerve-wracking. Yeah. You feel like it's going to slide right on by, and then last second, it just gets that little bit of range and changes that course correction. We might see something similar a couple times in this one.
Yeah, and then that's the opposing thing right there, is you can also play it up high. You saw the last one was one tile lower or one tile inside, and you know, Lucas knows what he's doing with these interactions. He's making sure that balloon is not going to cruise through, and he's able to focus on the other units first.
So this is where things get interesting, Andrew, because you see, again, you can still cycling earthquakes and logs as Lucas will keep on doing that on this right-hand side, trying to get a bit of extra chip damage on some of those troops the best that he can. Lucas can play a good enough defense against these balloons to just spell cycle this in the long run.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this high hunter might need to get out some sort of... What's that?
That snowball miner out of Morton on the right-hand side took care of the firecracker, took care of the skeletons, was certainly ahead. And while he is behind on damage at the moment, it was a nice little sequence out of the German.
Yeah, great death damage there to clean up everything else from Lucas, but now Morton going to have to put together, I believe, a push on the left-hand side. You see the Hunter and the Fisherman up high looking for the second mortar to come down, and now you see this push crossing the bridge. I imagine we'll see a balloon.
And look at this, just stacking giant skeletons in the cycle right now is Morton. The balloon does finally come down, but this mortar does get controlled by the skeletons in the middle. Balloon still currently holding on to life for a little bit, but those firecrackers getting it down. Yeah. NATO will pull it back. This is going to be a tough one here. Lucas in a good spot.
Death damage going down. Mortar still up high. Fisherman there with bats to try to take it down, but you got a lot of units already focusing on the balloon. Bats are there. Not going to be enough. Lucas playing brilliant control, just getting a little bit of chip when and where he could with the logs and the earthquake, so that's got to be a frustrating loss for Morton, just feeling like he's running his head into the wall over and over and over again.
Yeah, that was really nicely played, and Lucas recognized early that mortars probably weren't going to get connections, but that those high mortars just to force Morton to be thinking about that. You saw how often he had to play those skeletons to split in the middle to control those mortars. Just means a little extra elixir, a little extra brain power being focused that way, but Lucas knew that his way of winning was going to be spell damage, got it done.
Yeah, and Morton couldn't crack the code, right? He couldn't figure out how to break through on either side. Lucas doing a brilliant job cycling those mortars early on, getting all those range units on the board, getting those cycled out as well. If you get the mortar, the firecracker, and those spear goblins cycled out early, then you can get them all the way back around before Morton even gets one balloon down, and that's what Lucas did over and over and over. And then, of course, he does still have that safeguard of the tornado.
And this is one of those sequences where you felt like if Morton could do it enough, he could take the lead in this one. The minor snowball in. But keep in mind, every time he was doing that, that was 5 to get not that much damage with that King Tower activation. So still was able to keep himself in the game. This was the sequence where it felt like the scales were on the balance. They could have gone either way. I'm really wondering if a balloon to the inside directly onto that mortar might have been the call here as opposed to the balloon outside.
I mean, honestly, there were 3 mortars on the board for a moment there, and I like the call. Maybe if he goes high into the middle with that balloon, he's able to get the mortar off the board. The only problem there is just with all the answers Lucas has, he can just tornado that to the opposite lane, right? 3 elixir, pulls it to the left-hand side, doesn't even need to defend it because it won't do enough in that short amount of time to take the tower. So you understand the situation Morton was in, and it was a tough one. Lucas, really nice there.
Yeah, you're right there. That the NATO does create an extra wrinkle in that situation. So nicely played by Lucas, who had a couple little micro misplays in game number 1. Game number 2 needed to make 0 mistakes, made 0 mistakes, and got a nice win over Morton. And now is a pretty good shot to send this to King of the Hill. This is feeling not dissimilar to what we experienced yesterday against Space Station.
I know, no matter what you do, you just cannot send Pain packing, and I'm okay with it. I love the gameplay I've seen out of them, and I love that they've been able to bounce back in these head-to-head sets, which is honestly where they struggled more throughout the season. You know, you talk about their incredible 2v2 squad. They've lost both of their sets in playoffs, but they've been able to come back around in these head-to-head sets, and taking this one off of Morton is massive. You don't want to run into King of the Hill against Pain Gaming because anything can happen. We've seen it many times before. We saw it yesterday, so let's go. Game number 3, Lucas Morton. This is huge.
Yeah, this is just a pleasure to watch, a pleasure to cast. And, I'm wondering what the pressure is being felt on their sides. Of course, it is Lucas facing a match loss here. Morton is the one who has match point, but as you said before, no one on the SK side wants us to go to King of the Hill.
It's just crazy, right? It's just crazy what Vitor, Lucas, Wallace, Sweep, all of them, they've all done great things in King of the Hill at different moments, and SK wants to end this now.
Lucas with the kiss. Okay, for a second there I was like, there's no way he's going to do 2.6, and I was absolutely right. Might be Expo, though, for the Brazilian.
Yeah, and there you go. Hog Rider out right-hand side, so maybe going to be triple spell here.
Well, he's known as a 2.6 player, but still translates pretty well to being a fantastic Hog Cycle player overall. And Lucas with the Knight in the middle just to get good control on both lanes.
So, Rich, if you take a look at the first 3 cars that Morten has, how do you feel as a Hog Rider player?
I don't love it. I don't love it. Especially I don't love going this late into the game without creating an advantage, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you feel like you maybe want to get some damage in early here. And now we see it come out,
man.
and then the Mega Knight on top of it. Ooh, boy.
Yeah, this is trouble. I mean, you see right now we've got 11 Elixir on the board. Lucas has 7 now to respond. He gets the Bomb Tower out, and High Knight. It's actually going to be a pretty good cleanup for him. Morten's still going to be in the lead, though. He's going to let this die on the vine and just prepare for the next Hog push.
I think this is the same matchup that we saw in our opening 1v1 on the day, right? Or was this the Wallace matchup maybe, was the second one? But I think we already saw this matchup between this Graveyard deck and this Hog Cycle deck, and we'll see if Lucas makes the similar mistakes of a failed King Tower activation.
Yeah, and just a throwback to you guys that are thinking about the first matchup between these guys. Morten was able to take King of the Hill for a quick 2-0 victory over Payne when he was able to eliminate Wallace and Lucas back-to-back.
So King Tower activation for Morten, pretty standard stuff, and now setting up into the right-hand lane.
Yeah, you know, Morten doing okay. He's down obviously in damage, but you see how much Elixir's on the board. Look at that Mega Knight pushing the Hog Rider to the other side with the leap there. Morten going to completely ignore it. Lucas actually does a pretty great job defending on that right-hand side, but that is a great Mega Knight drop waiting to happen.
Yeah, that center Hog Rider from Lucas, I think, it was just to control the Mega Knight there and try to help out the overall defensive presence a little bit in the middle. We'll see if he does something similar again here, using the Hog Rider in these phases more for helping control on the Mega Knight rather than focusing so much on offense.
Really nice high split skeletons there. You saw it locked up the Mega Knight, the Fisherman, and the Brawler all with 1 Elixir. Beautiful placement there by Lucas.
That poison does give Morten the advantage as we go into sudden death, 1563 to 1658. Now opposite lane again for Lucas, and deciding that he wants to start putting damage on this side, and the Hog Rider does get a very important shot.
Yeah, that's a big shot. A little bit of an overspend in Morten's mind at least, so he goes Mega Knight in the back. Now we see a Knight up high. Going to be right back around to that Hog Rider. There he is. Fisherman going to come down. Yep, there's the Fisherman going to pull away. Brilliant sequence of defense from Morten, and now Lucas has to be panicking just a bit.
Yeah, that Fisherman E-Wiz together was brilliant, kept the damage off, controlled it nicely, and now you have the Mega Knight in deep, tanking Graveyard, putting some significant damage, and again, the lead goes back to the German.
Yeah, and almost gets the King Tower activation, but the Knight comes in high because Lucas recognizes that the King Tower activation isn't worth both of his archers going off the board because he still needed them defensively. I love that Morten keeps changing up his defense also. It makes it so hard to predict and play against.
Man, this is a real back and forth now. 24 HP separating these two. Lucas with the advantage. Graveyard poison in one more time and a pretty heavy spend right into the poison. King Tower activation does come in now, and this could be a significant factor here in the final 30.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised to see the Bar Barrel out of Morten coming in like that aggressively on the right-hand side. Didn't really go anywhere other than just sacrifice 2 Elixir. Now you see the push coming in on the right here with the 2 archers, Knight up front, and the Hog behind. Lucas is not happy about having to switch lanes this late in the game.
Graveyard into the right-hand side, Hog Rider into the left. Does Morten have a way to stop the Hog Rider? One shot's going to get in from the Hog on the left-hand side. Can it get a second one? EQ in. Graveyard on the opposite side.
326?
And 326 to 303. Can a spell get in for Lucas? It will not. Morten holds on for the win. SK Gaming is going to the Western Championship.
SK Gaming going to finals. I don't know if anyone doubted it for a moment, but Payne Gaming, what a beautiful, phenomenal run for them here in the West, and I am so very happy that we are not done seeing them yet here this year in CRL. They get to take a little bit of a break, and they'll be back for World Finals, but that was a great 1v1 set.
This is one of those reasons why I'm unconvinced. I understand the value of the Royal Delivery version of this deck, and we saw it help out significantly on defense. But you take a look at that final spell cycle sequence, and part of you wonders, of course, maybe it'd be even worse. Maybe the match would have been over earlier with the snowball version. But on the flip side, you're looking at the triple spell value to win cycle races at the end. and didn't have that advantage here today for Lucas.
Yeah, see, these things are great because you see Lucas putting up dual lane pressure so that Morten cannot just fisherman out and make a really easy +1 trade and, you know, just have that way to control the game. So you'll see a lot of times Lucas puts up dual lane pressure, but the other thing is that Morten always changes up his defense. So here you go. High bar barrel turns the knight around. A brilliantly timed fisherman, stun from the E-Wiz. It doesn't get better than that. Now the knight comes down unsupporting that Hog Rider. The archer's way behind that. It was all just a perfect sequence. And then you see here King Tower. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, talking about that King Tower activation, and just a little bit later on the Skeletons this time was Lucas than we saw in the previous matchup. That's why the King Tower activation works, and King Tower definitely playing a role here at the end. And nearly helping Lucas steal this one.
Yeah, I mean, King Tower on both sides. That's why it was so imperative for these guys to get that King Tower going. Really helping out. You see here, Fisherman pulls, Hog gets a hit. Hog gets a second hit? No. Bar Barrel in, Tower shooting on, Poison in on one side, Earthquake on the other, and then it's just a straight up foot race.
Yeah, and Lucas not able to get the log in on the left-hand side to go ahead and narrow that gap. You see how close this one was. What a great end to a great run for Pain Gaming, but it's SK going to the finals for a chance at their second Western Championship, their third finals.
Crazy.
Actually, let's go. Their fourth finals out of 5 seasons in CRL.
Yep, and honestly, I can't think of a squad that deserves it more. They've stuck together, the 4 of them, for quite some time now. They've put in all the work. We've seen a lot of heartbreak from them, whether it was Javi with Vivo Kid or whether it was Morten last year with 1 HP. SK Gaming has been working their tails off, and it's paying off once again. We got one more match today before we get into finals next week, and who will it be playing against SK Gaming? Will it be Team Queso or will it be Tribe? I mean, Rich, what are you thinking about this matchup we got coming?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. What we saw out of Queso yesterday was a bit of a surprise early on and then no surprises later with Ruben clutching up. This is a different situation today. They're up against what has historically been an elite 2v2 duo. If Tribe Gaming can win that first one, things get really difficult for them. But if not, those 1v1s we see get to some pretty crazy matchups. I cannot wait for these BO3s.
Yeah, those are going to be some insanely heated 1v1s. Maybe the best we've seen this season so far, but it makes sense because here we are in semifinals battling it out. It's going to be, of course, the cheesy ones, Team Queso taking on basically perfect Tribe Gaming.
High-level drama and top-tier gameplay. What else would you expect from the final week of the regular season in Clash Royale League West? These are the top 5 plays from Week 8. And before we get started, of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, never miss a moment of the action as we go right into playoffs. And right now, we go right into our opening play. It's Dignitas against Misfits. Dignitas needing the win in this match to keep their playoff hopes alive. Lince against Air Surfer playing 3.0 Expo, one of the best Expo players to ever do it in a difficult E-Barbs Royal Giant matchup. Yeah, you heard me right. E-Barbs are all over the place now after the recent buff. And look at these final 10 seconds. So close in a spell cycle situation. Expo wants to get on tower. Can it get on tower? Very close. Fireball puts it right there. And check this out. Log comes in on the left. Expo to the right. And just barely a couple of ticks away from winning, but Lince keeps the playoff hopes alive by 42 HP against Air Surfer. Big time clutch for Dig in that one. On to number 4. Same match earlier in the match though. 2v2. It's Air Surfer and Wings against Codigo and Flash. And check out the defense here against this balloon clone push. Easily cleaned up, and now the pressure on the right-hand side and some beautiful opportunistic geometry with that Magic Archer. And when the pigs come down, that's way too much fireball value. Codigo and Flash had to spend it there, but what does that mean? Well, we're in a spell cycle race, boys. That means they cannot beat the foot race on the left-hand side. Air Surfer and Wings with a huge come-from-behind victory. Heads up, high-tier gameplay in the 2v2. On to number 3, Sergio Ramos against Razor. Razor, the King Killer, going to set up a nice sequence here. P.E.K.K.A in the back, Fisherman up front. Sergio Ramos goes to engage on the right-hand side, but check out the cycle work here from Razor, because as that goes through, he gets back to another Mama Pekka. Sergio Ramos was not expecting that. Look at the body language on the left. He's going, okay, oh no, okay, and watch this fisherman just go to town, bringing stuff in for Mama Pekka over and over, feeding her elixir, feeding her troops. You know, they say, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but if you teach a man to play fisherman, he will eat all of your troops in a 5-minute matchup. Here we go on to number 2. Javi 14 making a rare appearance in 2v2 because, of course, SK Gaming has already clinched that number 1 spot at this point. And look at the defensive freeze on the right from Team Liquid. Javi might not be a 2v2 player, but he understands as well as anyone when your opponents overspend in the right-hand lane, time to double down with your teammate in the left. Hog Rider comes in, Lumberjack comes in, Musketeer stays on the board, Freeze gets it done, Javi and Morton get a nice win there to cap off the season. On to our number 1 play, Pompeo of Chivas Esports, one of the most popular ladder players of all time, playing the Pompeo deck. Balloon, Miner, left-hand lane, Miner comes in onto that Hunter, a zap to retarget, Balloon sneaks right on through, Fireball not gonna be enough, and Diego E knows he got. Nice play. Let's go ahead and look at that one more time. Nice, zoomed in and slow to see Pompeo doing what Pompeo does. The Miner comes in, the Hunter was on the Balloon, but the zap for the retarget. This is what he's known for. This is what he does well. A fan-pleasing moment in the last match for Chivas Esports in our 2020 fall season. I hope you guys enjoyed all of the top 5 highlights from the regular season this year. And of course, if you like CRL, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're here for the playoffs as our top teams fight for a chance to go to the World Finals this December in Shanghai, China. With one of our finalists decided, all there is left to do is find out who will be their opponent for the next Clash Royale League Western Regional Championship. Welcome back, I'm top-tier gameplay. That's Andrew Guy, and we are on to our second of our semi-final matches today. On one side, you have a team that has pretty much performed exactly as expected. Team Queso with Ruben leading the charge to bring them all the way to World Finals. On the other side, a team that has been great, but has not yet met the very, very high expectations of Tribe Nation. This, Andrew, is going to be very compelling and a difficult lift here for Team Queso.
Yeah, compelling indeed. 2 very different roads to success for these 2 squads. I mean, it's crazy when you have someone that is truly what feels like the Michael Jordan of Clash Royale on one team, just willing his way to victory match after match after match. Any 1v1 set that you come into with Ruben, it's a bad place to be for everyone other than him. Only one person's taken him down in this entire season. That was Javi 14. And if that's what you're talking about, those sets can go either way. Tribe Gaming, on the other hand of it, they have been a fully formed squad since match 1, whether it's been Azilius and Buffback in 2v2, TNT coming out in King of the Hill, or in match 2, I think it was, where we saw Jupiter King finally make his debut and take a win. So how's it going to work? Is it going to be the whole squad of Tribe taking the win, or is it going to be the help of Kuchi, Benny, and IMJP pushing Ruben through to one more finals?
It's going to be very, very interesting. Tribe Gaming, of course, feels like nothing but a championship is really what would be acceptable at this stage. This is the team of free agents. None of these guys wore the red before this season or before this year. Buffmac was the most sought-after free agent of the offseason. Azilius was the 2v2 guy that everyone wanted and Tribe landed. Bringing in TNT and Jupiter King to round things out, this is a squad looking for a championship, and that run starts right here, Andrew, in this great matchup against Team Queso. Let's get to it.
Tribe Gaming e Team Queso disputam também uma vaga na grande final. Pra mim, um confronto muito equilibrado mesmo. A Team Queso tem grande jogador aí, o Ruben, que tá vindo como um dos melhores do mundo, mas tem um 2v2 que, apesar de ter ganho agora, não sei se bate de frente com o 2v2 da Tribe, e acho que nesse caso a Tribe deve levar e deve passar pela Team Queso. Vamos ver.
Tribe Gaming contra Team Queso, uma partida que vai ser definida no 1 contra 1 com várias estrelas do Clash Royale mundial.
No sé si van a poder contra ellos, pero definitivamente cada vez que en un equipo tienes a alguien como Rubén, puedes decir, tengo el chance de ganarle al que venga, como sea y cuando sea. Y todos ustedes sabemos que es el único equipo que nos queda con puros hispanos hablantes, así que apoyando aquí a Team Queso. Pero bueno, saben que Tribe es mi equipo favorito y siempre los he apoyado. Así que ya veremos un duelo de titanes y estamos de inmediato con el partido.
Tribe, otro de los candidatos, al igual que SK, de los que venían arriba de todo, de los que iban a pelear la punta, llevan ya un split entero, es el segundo dominando al 100%. Y del otro lado los Quesos, la historia dentro de Clash Royale, los primeros en apostar por el juego y los que quieren terminar el año como campeones del mundo.
Well, you guys saw yesterday just exactly how much of a phenom Ruben is for Team Queso. The big thing was that Benihoo and Kuchiku picked up that 2v2. Can they do it again today against a much better Tribe squad?
Expectations for Tribe Gaming are high, maybe the highest they've ever been for any squad in CRL. For 2020, they came in with the big powerhouse roster, the huge free agent signings, Azelis, Buffmac, TNT, and Jupiter King. Tribe expects a championship here. They expect a great run at World Finals, and it all starts right now against Team Queso, who continue to have great success on the back of our league MVP, the amazing Ruben. For Tribe Gaming, the big goal was sealed when they got that automatic berth to World Finals, the top 2 finish. Queso now breathing a sigh of relief as they are guaranteed in now that they have semifinals.
Here we go. Tribe Gaming. Azelis and Buffmac going to be coming out in that 2v2 set. And I imagine the 3 gentlemen on the right, TNT, Jupiter King, and once again, Buffmac will be coming out in their 1v1 sets. This is going to be an exciting day for Tribe Gaming. I'm excited to see all 4 of them come out and exactly what they can do against this very, very good Team Queso squad.
On the other side of it, Team Queso will almost assuredly put out Benny and Kuchi one more time in the 2v2, and then double duty for Ruben in 1v1 with IMJP in the mix. Last time these squads met, Andrew, was when the magic of Ruben finally wore off. He was unable to carry through the King of the Hill into the 1v1, but this time, instead of just a best of 1, get him off the board and he's done, those BO3 sets do change the math a bit for the cheesy ones.
Yeah, it was really, really tough there for Team Queso after dropping that 2v2 set. King of the Hill can go either way. Azelis and Buffmac banning the Electro Wizard today. A bit of a surprise there. Maybe we'll see Electro Dragon then come out instead for Kuchi and Benny, who were taking Giant Skeleton out of play. Here we go, 2v2 of our second match of semifinals.
Team Queso, top of your screen. Tribe Gaming, bottom of your screen. And Andrew, we talked a bit about the assemblage of this Tribe Gaming squad. 2 big pieces of that, of course, were the guys you see right there, Buffmac. It was a big question of where he would end up after leaving Energy in 2019, and for a while it seemed like Space Station might have been the home for Buffmac. Now that we've gotten this far away, they definitely were looking at him, but it was Tribe Gaming that won that lottery, and add in Azelis turned into a really strong 2v2 pair.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about Buffmac being the most highly sought-after free agent for his head-to-head prowess, but then getting picked up by a squad and then moved to 2v2. Also, that just shows how dang good Tribe is, the fact that you can have Buffmac playing, which a lot of squads would love him as their head-to-head guy, playing 2v2 and doing very well.
Well, a lot of people, myself included, expected that it was going to be the South Korean duo of TNT and Jupiter King as the 2v2 pair, but Jupiter didn't have 2v2 competitive experience, is a guy you want for those 1v1s, and when you pick up Azelis, you need someone who can use a common language to be the pair with him. So Buffmac, taking a note from his teammate, moving into the 2v2, and here they have contributed significantly to getting their squad all the way to this point.
So a mirror matchup essentially here in game number 1. Lightning's coming out on both sides here on Tribe's side of the board after a battle at the bridge between Lava Hounds and Inferno Dragons that Tribe actually took the lead there for a moment in that exchange.
You know, Andrew, we talked a lot about SK and their 2v2 with being able to battle through adversity to get wins. This is maybe even a more telling statistic. Tribe Gaming, their 2v2 duo of Azilius and Buffmac, have a sub-50 win rate, a negative win rate of 45%, but they have won 5 sets and only lost 4. So they've come through in the big thing, the sets, but they've lost those games. And, you know, they've won a lot of close ones and been swept a couple of times. Just shows the grit of this team to still win the set despite having a losing game record.
What's fascinating about that, Rich, is that they've never lost a set that they've won a game in. They have never...
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, they've only lost 0-2 when they've lost, and that's happened 3 times. So really fascinating. It seems like if Tribe, if you're able to take a game off of them, that's basically cracking the code. So looking to take this first game is Team Queso's Kuchi and Benny, who have... I don't know. They look completely different than what we've seen all season long in these last couple matches.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what it might be. Part of it might be just stepping up and feeling the mojo at the moment. Part of it also might be that they really know that at most one of them might come out in King of the Hill at the very end. So not worrying much about prepping head-to-head decks at all and able to focus even more cleanly on the 2v2.
Yeah, and the 2v2 is looking real nice right now. You see that high E drag and get on top of that Inferno, but Team Queso going back on offense with that Lava Hound, double Dragon here, and I'm assuming they're going to drop a Lightning unless they just played it.
Yeah, you saw a 2-shot Lightning come
There
out
it is.
from Tribe Gaming, so missing the Inferno Dragon, which you can see is still on the board, still helping out, and that is a huge, huge blow to Tribe's hopes in Game 1.
This is definitely Game 1 to Team Queso's Kuchi and Benny. My goodness, doing it 2 days in a row, picking up games early on. This is exactly what Team Queso needs. If Kuchi and Benny can just pick up a 2v2 set, they're basically guaranteed to get to King of the Hill.
Yeah, I mean, it really creates so much value for their squad when these guys are firing. And look, you can lose as much as you want during the regular season. You start winning in playoffs, and that's all worth it. The big question for me, Andrew, was just what was going on the side of Azilius and Buffmac. You see one Lightning only getting 2 targets, and next thing you know, they are fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, there was actually just some really questionable decisions being made by Buffmac and Azilius. I mean, they started off doing well when you recognized it looked like it was going to be a mirror matchup. And, you know, they win that first battle at the bridge, they get a little bit of damage in, they use a nice defensive Lightning after their opponent's offensive Lightning. But then from that moment on, it just felt like they were, I don't want to say out of sorts, but just out of rhythm.
Yeah, it did get kind of strange there, and I believe that this is going to be, or maybe we already had the missed Lightning there a half step earlier. And at this point, it was just they couldn't get to that Inferno Dragon, gets healed up in the back, and they're trying to fight everything but the Inferno Dragon. GG, well played. This thing comes right down the hill with a pile of troops.
Yeah, and you heard me say on broadcast, you know, there's going to be a Lightning coming in unless they had just used it, and it was just a tough spot for Azilius and Buffmac to be in. They had to defend the Lava Hound, they had to get on top of the Inferno, or the Dragon's behind, but the only way you can do that is just by dropping right around your tower. A brilliant Lightning comes in, cleans that all up, and then it was just desperation unit after desperation unit for Tribe to just prevent any damage coming in, and just not going to be able to do it when you're dropping a Goblin Cage up high after missing a Lightning.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I'm trying to look at the hands right now, and it was Tribe. It was Buffmac running Miner, but no Miner in the side of Team Queso. So I'm trying to figure out exactly, looking at 32 cards, what was the difference between these two decks at that stage. But I know a very important distinction here that maybe that was a key factor where there was a lot more firepower coming through the skies for Team Queso, and the Miner not really playing much of a factor here for Tribe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like we hardly even saw the Miner, if at all. And when you think about taking a card completely out of play, and you think about the utility that the other cards that were put in place of it for Team Queso and what they were doing with those bridge battles, that's why they came out really easy on top with that first game. And so this is not a spot Tribe wants to be in. I mean, they know exactly who they're going up against, and I'm assuming they have a lot of faith in Azilius and Buffmac taking this set. So let's hop into game number 2 and see if they can kind of turn things around or change up the pattern of losing a set if they lose a game.
So here we go, game number 2. Reminder one more time, Electro Wizard, a very rare and interesting ban here out of Tribe Gaming. And giant skeleton, very common one out of Team Queso, and the big wrinkle this creates is that the tornado is still allowed very rarely in 2v2.
Yeah, just to kind of flush out that idea, the only teams that Azilius and Buffmac lost to were Razor and Canario, Morton and Sam, and the God RF and Lapacati this season, all of which were 0-2 losses.
Lumberjack stays alive just long enough on the right-hand side for Tribe Gaming to get a cage down and control that Mega Knight just a little bit longer. So a different look out of Team Queso in game number 2, but not the case on the other side. And there you go, pretty easy King Tower activation for the Spanish squad.
Yeah, I like to see that out of them. Did not want to see them miss that NATO this early on, and if they can take a quick 2-0 set here over Tribe, that's going to be huge for them and their team. Inferno Dragon plus Log here to meet the Royal Giant plus Archers.
First 80 seconds away, and it is Tribe Gaming with the lead on the left-hand lane, 17-14 to 19-18, as the Musketeer takes care of business on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I like that they kind of played lax defense there, a little behind in Elixir. They take a little bit of damage there from the Dragons, just defending with one Musketeer.
Electro Dragon down behind, and Heal Spirit will help that Fisherman out a bit, and the Electro Dragon is kind of stuck up high there, taken care of by the Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter drop right underneath, going to be a great way to work through those Dragons in the skies, dropping that Hunter right underneath them. Big body shot and off the board. Here we go. Mega Knight on offense. I like this moment for Team Queso. Yep, Mega Knight in with the Graveyard after the Lava Hound comes down. What do they have to deal with these skeletons? Not a lot so far.
That's a lot of damage coming in. Mega Knight going to get a leap on tower as well. Unbelievable.
What?
Tower down, 41 seconds left, and Lava Hound is not a deck that puts up a lot of damage fast.
Dude, what is happening right now? Team Queso, Kuchi and Benny looking like 2017 all over again. All they got to do is defend for the next 29 seconds. No problem. Like you said, Lava Hound doesn't put up a ton of damage very quickly. There's the high bomb tower to keep that Baby Dragon in place. 20 seconds remain. Fireball in. Tribe doing anything and everything they can.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough, though, Andrew. You see that Musketeer stayed on for a long time. They're just trying to flood the bridge right now. I don't know if it's going to happen, though, Andrew. That's going to be it. Team Queso's Kuchi and Benny, after such a rough season, so many detractors, and I'll cop to it right here being one of them, come through with 2 huge 2v2 set wins in back-to-back matches.
I mean, me too. I will own up to it. Look, here's the thing. You and I have always loved Benny and Kuchi. We have always had nothing but nice things to say about them, other than this season in 2v2 and last season. It's been a struggle. They have not been putting it together for their squad. But going 4-1 through quarterfinals and semifinals in this 2v2 set, and now taking down Azilius and Buffmac, this is everything that Queso could hope from these two guys. And now, guess what? It's all on Ruben and IMJP to bring this home. It's gonna be a good day for Queso.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ruben and IMJP could finish this in 2 sets. They could absolutely do it. So that's certainly a danger. And if I'm Tribe Gaming, this feels like a real massive loss to take this L in the 2v2.
Yeah, and you see here, this is that great Graveyard push coming in late. Benny and Kuchi playing very patiently today, playing very intelligently as well. I mean, we talked about just that small interaction before with only a Musketeer coming out to defend 2 Dragons to take a little bit of damage. Their opponents go right back on offense, but they have so much elixir to deal with that push that they finally get that opening for that Graveyard. Mega Knight comes in, Graveyard on the back end, and Tribe just overspent. They were caught looking. Kuchi and Benny are back.
Well, one of the big things we see, Andrew, we saw it yesterday and we saw it today, was just slowing down the deck play in 2v2, right? Going with decks that you're with slower, heavier, beatdown style decks that make it where it's decision making rather than reaction. And we didn't see a lot of double drops on defense, and maybe it was some of the opponents letting them play slower paced games that kind of gave some of that advantage.
Yeah, and there were some of those small interactions that we wouldn't have been shocked if Queso had missed earlier in the season. Even something as simple as that King Tower activation with the Brawler early on with the Tornado. The Team Queso in the first few weeks, or honestly, for most of the weeks, may have done a double drop there. May have NATO'd to king, but missed the king NATO, just because there was small stuff not really going their way. Maybe it was mental slip-ups, or maybe it was just misfortune, but now it seems like everything is actually clicking together for the cheesy ones, and Benny and Kuchi looked just as good as any other 2v2 squad out there. There was great management of those games, and as you said, slowing things down. I mean, we saw what happened to Kuchi in head-to-head when he doesn't have his wits about him, right? He makes small mistakes. So slow things down, have them play at the pace that you want to play at.
Yeah, that's very, very important. And now they give, for the second time in a row, that all-important advantage. And we expect we're going to see Ruben twice today. And here's the first one of those, possibly more than likely two. If we get there, it's Ruben and Jupiter King, and this is one of those BO3s that you hope you feel like you want to watch this 10 times in a row.
Yeah, I'm giddy. I'm definitely like really excited to see this BO3. I mean, these are two of the absolute best in the game, in the set that they want to be in. Ruben coming out with a miner, Jupiter King with a fisherman. Maybe we're going to see wall breakers. Maybe we see Royal Giant. Who knows?
Yeah, what I'm curious about in these ones is, we saw a lot leaned on for Ruben yesterday, and Ruben's great, has a very, very deep deck pool, but you do certainly prep certain decks for the weekend, and we talked about that beforehand. Ruben pulled double duty yesterday, expected to maybe go double again today. I wonder how much of what we expect from him has already been seen, and how much that gave Tribe an advantage in the game planning.
So I wonder if we're going to see the same deck out of Ruben that we saw from Morten earlier. It's that miner control deck that looked like it could have been Graveyard. Obviously, Morten played his miner much later. All right, excuse me. Yeah, Balloon. It looked like miner control, I remember, for that game, because he was never able to get the Balloon down until the very end, and obviously ended up winning that game.
Well, Ruben did play this yesterday, I believe. So, talking about the decks that you have prepped for a weekend or prepped for a match, I'm wondering if Tribe Gaming was expecting this one.
Yeah, and Jupiter King has a lot of responses to that Balloon. I mean, look at that. You get the knockback with the Fireball, the Hunter up high. He's got double Spirit here, so that cycle is going to be insane to keep up with.
Yeah, this is feeling like it's double Spirit Royal Giant, which, we've seen a lot of. I wonder if, I'm trying to remember if this is exactly the one that Lapakati ran against Igor, or if that one was an Ice Spirit as opposed to the Electro Spirit.
The fact that he's able to get around in 5 is just crazy, and especially when we get deeper into double and triple, it's going to be really, really tough to keep those win conditions at bay for Ruben. Here you go, Jupiter King up high. Fire, oh man. Fisherman low to pull the miner away. Hunter turns around, takes the Balloon out. Both of these guys are living in their opponent's heads.
Yeah, that 1v1 defense, or that defense there against the Balloon, you broke it down perfectly, Andrew. Beautiful, beautiful sequence. Jupiter King was way ahead to make sure that went the exact way he wanted.
Yeah, and that's what he's going to continue to do, is cycle that Fisherman towards the lane he thinks that Ruben's working towards, because that Fisherman can really, really help with those miners. Most importantly, can protect that Hunter, excuse me.
Snowball comes in, miner goes right to the Hunter one more time, Fisherman stacking, and we talk about how quickly all this gets around, Andrew. It means that those tech cards that he needs for defense are going to be there pretty consistently.
I mean, look, it's just like, it's a parade of Hunters and Fishermen going down one side of the map, but it cycles so quickly. Fireball comes in, Hunter up high, Electro Spirit perfectly timed. Jupiter King always has a plan B.
Yeah, you think that maybe the Balloon escapes there for Ruben. Does get death damage, though, 1933 on the right-hand side. So while this is some fancy footwork from Jupiter, and while we're seeing some pretty cool stuff from Jupiter, keep in mind that he's still given up a little bit of damage every single time and has not yet mounted any significant offense.
So here we go. Royal Giant cycled in the back. Going to have more than enough to deal with these pushes coming on the left-hand side. And Ruben now doing the correct thing, cycling most of his DPS towards the right side, because it's going to be hard for him to win this bridge battle.
Yeah, that was a nice fireball out of Jupiter to the middle. Not going to get a shot. No, he does get a Royal Giant shot, and now goes RG to the left-hand side. Again, this deck gets around so quickly, and the Bomb Tower does not pick up the Royal Giant.
Yeah, that's a big miss there from Ruben, missing the Bomb Tower aggro on the Royal Giant. Jupiter doesn't need to reset with the Electro Spirit, just gets a big chunk of damage in on the left-hand side, and a great placement on the second RG to avoid that death damage.
Who expects they're going to face this, right? Who's prepping their matches for the weekend? We talk about Ruben having to spend so much time prepping. And, you know, maybe we're seeing some of the decks that he ran yesterday for that exact reason. But then also, who's sitting there going, yeah, I bet Jupiter's going to run double Spirit Royal Giant cycle.
Yeah, and it just becomes so hard to win these bridge battles because you can't get to that Hunter. And the Hunter is just such a great equalizer. Fisherman going to go in through that left-hand side with the log, but, you know, he's back again. So there's the Hunter up high. He's going to get a unit down in front for the Knight. And, of course, Barrel's going to come in, but there's the Fireball. There's just so many responses. Jupiter makes this look easy.
Well, this deck from Ruben succeeds by outcycling, right? And not going to happen when your opponent can get around in 5.
Yeah, exactly. So every single one of these pushes just perfectly defended by Jupiter King. This balloon does need to go down. There it is. 5 seconds remain. Maybe we see a log or something, but not necessary. Jupiter taking game number 1.
So much fun to watch. So much fun to watch. And that's one of those decks again.
I know. Yep.
Everyone go ahead, try that at home, and good luck.
I knew you were going to say it because I know both you and I look at that and go, man, that looks like a lot of fun. And then you go and you try it and you're like, man, I am horrible with 1 elixir cards.
Yeah, it's so fun to watch, but definitely a high level. And one of those things where if you go back and watch through that one, you go back and do the same thing with when Lapo ran a very similar, if not the exact same deck against Igor. It might have been Ice Spirit in that one. Just go ahead and watch how much value they get out of every 1 elixir card.
Yeah.
Right? If you take a look at what Jupiter was, if they weren't cycled for cycle's purpose, they were cycled with intent. And that's the big difference in playing that deck successfully and failing miserably and wondering how they did it.
Well, what's crazy about this deck, if you look at it from an opponent's point of view, you go, all right, I just need to deal with the Hunter and the Fisherman and I win the game. It's an impossible task to do, though, when you look at what Jupiter King does in terms of cycling. There's 2 Hunters on the board right now, along with Spirits, along with Skeletons. There's another Spirit. There's another Hunter. It's all about keeping those 2 cards at bay, right? Because it's just the 3 of them in conjunction with each other, the Fisherman, the Hunter, and the Royal Giant, that's actually going to make you lose the game. But just not being able to get to the 2 cards, especially the Hunter, makes it impossible to win.
Yeah, so this is nicely played all the way around for Jupiter, and you know, all Ruben needs is 1. He needs 1 opening. And this here almost felt like it could have been it, but the Hunter then does not get taken out, doesn't turn around, and look, that balloon gets through, drops death damage, suddenly we're in a foot race. Suddenly it's a very different story for Jupiter King, but you know, you have to get that Hunter off the board, doesn't happen, and now game number 1 goes to Tribe.
Yeah, and very like Jupiter King's play style, very methodical. We saw that Royal Giant, I think, like 3.5 minutes in or something like that, 3 minutes into gameplay. He just sat back and waited and cycled, and that was it. That's all he did, was just sat back and waited and cycled and played very, very reactive to the opponent's balloon. Finally sees a big elixir opening and then drops that Royal Giant down. So let's hop in to the next game here. Ruben completely controlled, suffocated, if you will, in game number 1.
Yeah, very curious to see what his choice is in game number 2. He went with a deck that has the ability to outplay.
Yep.
And then went with a deck that's just even faster and even more insane. So we'll see what sort of choice Ruben makes as we go into our second one. Keep in mind, though, that Team Queso does have the 1 set advantage. So Ruben not having the same level of pressure as normal. And here he goes,
wow.
Royal Giant at the bridge, and Jupiter going right back to it.
Rocking it right back. I love it. I wonder if Ruben's doing the same thing.
It'd be funny if Ruben was going copy deck, decides not going to do that one. The E-Wiz does get the stun lock there on the Fisherman, so nice, easy timing there for Ruben. Fishboy doing nothing against the Electro Wizard.
So this is definitely going to be a bit more difficult for Ruben, for Jupiter than it was in that last game. Obviously, being able to deal with those pushes of the balloon just the same way every time. Stop the tanks at the bridge, get the Hunter right on top of the balloon. But now you have to think about that Fisherman coming into play. You got to think about dealing with that Heal Spirit on top of the Royal Giant. And of course, that stun from the Electro Wizard. There's a lot of utility in Ruben's hand.
Well, I mean, one of the big differences here is I don't believe there was a log in the deck last time around, and that does change how those spirits get their use. Like, right, in the last game, the spirits could do whatever the heck they wanted throughout everything, and this time, not going to be the same story necessarily. So, a bit different here for Ruben, as you can see so far, does have the damage lead as we go into double elixir time here in just a moment.
Yeah, damage lead, elixir lead, and now got to set up for a Royal Giant push on the right-hand side. About to get to double elixir here.
And as soon as that Fisherman comes out, you see a decent little fireball value, and the Royal Giant goes opposite direction, but Hunter Ewas will mitigate most of that damage and preserve the lead for Ruben.
Yeah, Ruben gets one shot in on that right-hand side as well. Hunter does do a good job taking that Royal Giant down, but just a slight advantage in the Team Queso representative's favor, and now those E-Barbs going to work on the Royal Giant, but one of them does get pulled away. That's a nice play there by Jupiter King.
Yeah, though this might set up Ruben for a possible counter push. Instead, you see the Electro Wit Spirit have to come out against the Ewas, but that's going to be one shot on the right-hand side. 15-14 remains. Those E-Barbs create an interesting wrinkle here, Andrew, for Jupiter King to deal with, because you do have the ability to pull them away, but that almost feels like kind of the purpose, to keep the Hunter and the Fisherman protected there in the back.
Yeah, exactly. So now you see Jupiter King doing the correct thing, supporting that Fisherman with the Heal Spirit. Now going to try to win this bridge battle, or at least win this battle between the Fishermen, and he does that. There you go. Fisherman going to pull the opponent Fisherman. Nope. Wow. Heal Spirit battle goes in the favor of Ruben.
Very, very nice fireball. Fisherman does come down. Royal Giant's going to get pulled right into the Hunter, but will get a shot. Fireball in. 1088. Lead goes right back to the Spaniard.
Yeah, Ruben playing this really, really nice. Great fireball value there. An excellent Heal Spirit here from Jupiter King. There we go. Fisherman going to meet E-Barbs.
Heal Spirit does get in early enough, though, on Ruben's side. Royal Giant gets one shot. 895 to 1088. Lead swings back to Jupiter King.
Jupiter King going to try to get back on offense as soon as possible. High Fisherman here from Ruben going to pull in that Royal Giant right into some E-Barbs, but it will get at least one shot. Two shots.
Gets two shots here. Massive. 315 on the left-hand side. Jupiter King and a really good shot, and now Ruben just pressing the offense, trying to find any way he can to get that damage back right now. Heal Spirit behind, picked up by the log. Royal Giant going to get one shot. Can it get two shots here? It's going to get two shots. Fireball in the opposite side. Three shots in. 143 remaining. Jupiter King can cycle so quickly. Fireball in on the right-hand side. Is this going to be it? Ruben with 10 HP on the right-hand side. All it takes is a fireball from Jupiter. Will he beat the E-Barb? And he does! 10 HP, the difference. Jupiter with a big-time win.
Wow, what a quick 2 up, 2 down. An incredible, incredible back and forth. 10 HP remaining on that bottom right-hand tower. E-Barb was right there, sword swinging, but fireball lands just in time. My God, what a BO3.
Man, that was so much fun to watch. And Ruben got very, very close. At the end there, you just felt like there's no way he can win this spell cycle race. And he got it just there. Jupiter, though, with a beautiful performance to take the win. And now we're all tied up.
Yeah, what an incredible display of game management there by Jupiter King. He always had an answer. He never got caught looking, right? There was always the next step for Jupiter. It felt like even though this game was decided by 10 HP, he never lost his cool, and I love to see these bridge battles, man. I think it's one of the most exciting things in the game when you talk about the best head-to-head players. It's watching the amount of effort they put into winning these bridge battles, and honestly, the Fisherman plays were incredible as well. Here we go, final push in, or one of the final pushes in here from Ruben. This was a huge, huge log.
Yeah, I mean, there's a log on the other side, too. You see that Royal Giant got one extra shot for Jupiter on the left, but wasn't quite enough to finish things off. So you see the fireball comes in on the right. The log's going to come behind, but this isn't ladder. This is tournament standard. That leaves 10 HP on the board. Fireball will be able to finish things off, and that E-Barb nearly escaped. You know what's kind of funny about this, Andrew? I think a faster E-Barb, the older, faster E-Barb, might have actually hit that tower.
I think it would have too. I honestly think it would have too, and we know it did at least 10 damage before, so what a crazy 1v1 set. We're all even, as you just said. Queso takes the 2v2, Jupiter takes the first 1v1. Now, what are we expecting to see? Who's going to come out from Tribe? Who is going to come out from Team Queso?
You got to imagine that TNT is the guy in the middle here from Tribe Gaming. Of course, they could put Buffmac in that spot now that he's had a set to rest. On the other side for Team Queso, it's JP. Yeah. There's no question about it. JP's going to come out and pick that one up. So really about Tribe Gaming, from Tribe's perspective, it's who do they think has a better matchup against JP?
Yeah, so what's fascinating about this as well is no matter what, we're going to go to our fourth set, right? So in that fourth set, I imagine we'll most likely see Ruben out again for Team Queso. But did Tribe Gaming double down on Jupiter King, or did they toss it over to one of their 2v2 guys? That's something we're going to have to see, especially because of that great performance by Jupiter in that last 1v1.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be one of those ones where if it's not Jupiter King and whoever comes out loses, there'll be people going, well, why wasn't it Jupiter King twice? If it is Jupiter King and then he, there's so many different things where like the people on the back end, the Sunday morning, the Monday morning quarterbacks are gonna make their evaluations. But I'm personally hoping that it is Jupiter again in that fourth set, just because I want to see them run that one back.
I would love to see it as well. Here we go, TNT, I am JP in our third set of this semifinals match between Team Queso and Tribe. TNT, bottom of your screen, I am JP at the top.
And a big rip, by the way, to those of you in my lowest HP contest on Twitter, because 13 was a great guess as of yesterday, but now 10 HP is the closest one of the weekend. So sorry, and congratulations to those of you who have 10 HP. Let's just, good luck it doesn't hit single digits today.
I'm excited to try that deck out from Jupiter King, but I feel like it's going to be very frustrating.
Dude, I know. I can't wait to get there today, and then you and I will text each other about how bad we are at this game.
Bar barrels in both directions.
Haven't seen a ton of Musketeer in head-to-head play as of late after that first shot. Now comes in a little bit slower. Of course, she is still a big part of Balloon cycle decks, which TNT is known to play.
Yeah, we started to see a little bit more archers coming out instead just because of that slowed speed and high DPS needing to get made up somewhere.
TNT is on a very short list, Andrew, of players who have played all 5 seasons of CRL for either Asia or for the West, who has never had a season below a 50% win rate.
Incredible. And we've seen it this season. We've just seen how good he really is.
It all started with his rookie season where he quite famously didn't play until week 6 and then played 22 games and ended up with the top win rate of 73%. 6 then, 61%, 61%, 50-50 with only 4 games played in the spring, and then currently at a 56% clip on that season as INJP goes ahead and gets that King Tower activation.
Yeah, TNT had a really hot start to the season, not picking up his first game loss till his 4th appearance. But then it was real rough waters for him. In like 4 matches in a row, he was not able to pick up a head-to-head win until finally he comes out against Pain and gets a great, great King of the Hill sweep.
So looking a lot like Graveyard for JP. TNT with a little extra Heal Spirit value there to both the Mega Knight and the Fish Boy.
Barbell going to come in and help clean up all that. Looks like TNT should be the winner of this bridge battle, but a late Mega Knight comes down.
And doesn't quite get his Mega Knight to protect against... for his Musketeer on the opposite side. Heal Spirit, though, continuing to be good on the side of TNT, but right now it is JP with the lead as we go into sudden death overtime, and looking to add to that here with that Graveyard.
Yeah, Barbell going to help the Barbell off the board of IMJP's, but the Hunter there going to clean it up, and a lot of damage comes in here for IMJP. A really, really nice hit.
That Heal Spear almost turned into a tragedy for TNT. Does eventually keep the Musketeer on board, but damage in, 1032 remains, and as we're getting closer to Triple Elixir, things get more worrisome and more worrisome for the Tribe Gaming player.
Yeah, he's having a really, really tough time kind of controlling this game right now. Look at that. Fisherman pulls the Mega Knight away. Mega Knight on tower. Game 1 is going to go to IMJP. Great, great Fisherman plays in this entire match today.
Back and forth, and this is what you hope from a semi-final matchup. You see red to open things up in 2v2, a quick blue in our second set, and now IMJP with the set advantage or the game advantage here in our third.
Yeah, IMJP finally getting back on track after not picking up a game win in his last 3 matches. The last time we saw IMJP play was actually in King of the Hill, where he took down Kevin R.A. and Pompeo, but then they were reverse swept by Diego B. But right before that, against Dignitas, IMJP had a sweep. So he's a guy that we saw kind of come to life halfway through the season, and this is a great moment for him to pick up another set for Team Queso.
The Mega Knight Fisherman back and forth can get so convoluted, and you see here the Fisherman doing great work pulling that away from the Mega Knight, and that's the ending, the final blow there for TNT. Never was really able to get in rhythm at all on the offensive side of the board.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we saw the balloon come out at all for TNT. Forgive me if I'm mistaken, but also when you look at the responses there, the Cage, the Electro Wizard, and the Hunter, it makes sense why he was so reluctant to get that balloon out. I think what he was really looking for is to get a strong victory at the bridge with substantial elixir in hand, and then support a Mega Knight, or support a balloon, I should say, with a Mega Knight already there tanking for it, but just was never able to put it together. And in those final moments, you even saw the struggles he was having with his own Fisherman, whereas IMJP's Fisherman play was exceptional. He wanted to get a tank in for that Mega Knight, but he really needed to get that Mega Knight off the tower, more importantly.
So a big-time win for IMJP. Going to go into game number 2 of this set. JP now has evened up his record on the season at 9 wins and 9 losses, a 50-50. Would love to go positive here and give his team a chance at match point going into the 4th set.
Yeah, and those numbers really tell the story of what I was saying earlier. It was just like he was completely non-existent in the beginning, and then he went on a crazy run, and now he's just been very, very back and forth. Yesterday you saw him lose 1-2 to Michifu, and now today looking to right that wrong, picking up a set here against Tribe would be huge.
Real goes to the right-hand side. Mega Minion will not get a touch. And this bandit may need to be controlled here by TNT. Hunter does come down, but that means Hunter now kind of thrown to the wind.
Yeah, even in Elixir, but you know, that Magic Archer is definitely going to stay on the board here.
It's one of those weird things, too, where, you know, you look at that Hunter placement and your mind feels like getting it down there seems right, but TNT may be a bit of a misplay there. Hunter right on top of the bandit means no dash and maybe a little bit more HP on it.
So here we go, Magic Archer trying to get some damage or some geometry on through. E-Barb's there to catch that dashing bandit. IMJP trying to get a little bit cheeky. TNT saying, no, sir.
E-Barb's on both sides now. We'll see if the Heal Spirit is back, and nope, not quite ready yet. First minute and a half away. And so far, no damage on either side of the board.
You see that IMJP trying to support this push with the Barb Barrel. Baits out that Mega Minion from TNT, so TNT going to go heavy on offense now, realizing that this is actually a pretty good counter push that he has coming across the bridge, and probably not sure when he's going to get another opportunity like this.
This will be a lot going in the opposite direction, though. Ton on the board.
I like that.
That bandit goes right to the Hunter. Royal Ghost sneaks right on through.
Yeah, that's a really, really brilliant Hunter. You saw it just did triple duty there. Soaks up the shot of the bandit, one-shots it, cleans up the barb on the tower, turns around, takes care of his opponent's Hunter. Does get a little bit of damage, but that was a really, really nice use of 4 Elixir.
And there you go, Cannon Card at the end. So this is one of those no-win condition decks. You know, we've seen versions of this with Battle Ram come out, various different sort of bridge spammy decks, but now that the E-Barbs have been buffed, people have been playing around back and forth, and this is one of the ones that's become more popular.
Uh-oh, TNT getting in a little bit of trouble again. His Fisherman plays have just been a little bit off today, and he's really starting to pay for it with these interactions. Now taking a bandit charge on the right-hand side. King Tower activation with those E-Barbs, so a bit of fortune does fall towards TNT.
Royal Ghost sneaks right on through. Going to get a couple of shots here because the Fisherman not played far enough away. King Tower does help, though. At the moment, it is TNT with the lead, 5-14 to 7-18, as that bandit goes ahead and changes the math immediately. And here we go into sudden death overtime.
Yeah, 2 really small, unfortunate interactions there for either player. IMJP allows that Mega Minion to connect on his top right-hand tower to give TNT the lead. And as you just said, Rich, that bandit with a sliver of HP connects to that dash to put Jupiter King, or IMJP, excuse me, back up front.
So we'll see how much JP can clog up these bridge battles, get a well-timed Heal Spirit in, and then just continue to put the pressure on in the opposite direction.
This is trouble for TNT. He just gave a lot of elixir to his opponent. He needs to get a lot of single target damage down. Now we see Cannon Cart going to the left. Hunter up high. That's a nice +1 trade for TNT.
The Hunter on the right, though, does get on tower, and that might be the more substantial situation here. 1188 on the right-hand side, and the Bandit takes the left-hand side down to 1178. With triple elixir on its way, JP has taken control of the lead with set point.
Yeah, nothing there to respond to that Royal Ghost, so he has to go Mega Minion up top after it connects to the tower. 746 to 1250.
Bandit at the left-hand side, Cannon Cart to protect the Magic Archer.
Telling you, TNT's got to work harder on these Fisherman plays. IMJP's been picking them apart, and he gets a couple shots there with some great geometry from that Magic Archer.
33 seconds left. Heal Spirit does not save the Magic Archer in the long run. Doesn't necessarily matter, though. Royal Giant goes to the right-hand side. Cannon Cart just goes off on a trip to the left. Royal Giant doesn't get a shot. E-Barb's Hunter do their work. 20 seconds left. JP looking like he's in pretty good position.
Yeah, that high Magic Archer, though, I don't know about that play. Now we see the Fisherman come down to pull the Hunter away, but the other Hunter is still there. Lightning is in. TNT needed one Royal Giant shot, and IMJP coming back to life here for Team Queso.
This is absolutely wild, Andrew. The story all season has been the carry of Ruben, but look at the board right now.
I know.
2v2 sweep for Kuchi and Benny, 1v1 sweep for IMJP, and now we go to the fourth set match point, and Ruben has the set lead. This is what his team has needed to do all season, and they're doing it with a chance to send Queso to the championship.
And this is exactly what Queso wanted to see on their path to the championship. I'm going to speak for them, even though they might not agree with me, but if you get Benny, Kuchi, and IMJP to be the guys that are coming out for you today to pick up these W's, that's a great place to be in, because you can always rely on Ruben. Yeah, he's not going to be 100% every single day. A guy's got to lose a game every now and then. But if you get Kuchi and Benny doing that work for you in those other sets with IMJP, that's a deadly Team Queso squad.
There was just so much high damage on the board from JP's side. The E-Barbs, the Cannon Cart, and the Hunter all together. The fact that Royal Giant was able to get shots is just a testament to putting together good pushes on the side of TNT, because the quickness with which JP was able to kill these things over and over again was astounding.
Well, you know what was really astounding as well, Rich, was the Mega Minion play out of TNT. You look at what he has no big spell to regularly get on top of that Magic Archer for a positive or even trade. He needs to look for more units, right? So what does he do a lot of? Instead of using that spell power, he gets these Mega Minions up really high in the face of his opponents, because that Mega Minion does work on the Cannon Cart, on the E-Barbs, on the Magic Archer, and the Royal Ghost. So that Mega Minion for TNT was huge, but just not enough, because IMJP's no-win condition deck becomes devastatingly powerful in double and triple.
It's so interesting how, you know, kind of cycling all the way back to the last time IMJP was playing in the West during that EU season in 2018, where we had another no-win condition deck, the Siegs deck, that was so popular at that time. Came in late during a meta shift, wasn't part of the meta early on in the season, became part of the meta late in the season, and was a big part of success for a number of players. So same thing here. You see a no-win condition deck get popular late in the season and give a big-time win to JP.
Yeah, it's crazy when you can see that deck. I mean, really, the win condition is the Heal Spirit. When you get that Heal Spirit to land on top of 2 or 3 of those units, 3 or 4 of those units, and they're across the bridge, like you said, there's so much DPS that comes out. You get their life back up to 75%, and there's no way to adequately defend it with less elixir. That's one of these things about those high cycle decks. Wow, and I'm just going to stop talking, because look at this. Ruben is back out, no surprise there, but Jupiter King taking a seat for Buffmac.
Yeah, that's a huge one here. Look, Buffmac was picked up by Tribe because of head-to-head prowess, and a lot of people said that he was the guy of 2019. It seems strange because we don't see him as much this time, but keep in mind his lifetime win rate in the 1v1 or in head-to-head play is 60%. This guy wins more than he loses. The big question is, what does he do here?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be surprising to see him take this set over Ruben. I wonder how much time he's actually been able to allocate towards his head-to-head, practice, focusing so much on 2v2 with Azelis. But we're about to find out. I'm excited to see Buffmac here in this set.
Well, you got to keep in mind that he is one of the practice partners. That's one of the things about Tribe Gaming's roster is you have 4 longtime elite players. He's one of the practice partners for TNT and Jupiter. So certainly getting his reps in, no question. And it seems strange to think about it, but it wasn't that long ago. It was the fall season of last year where he went 4-1 in the 1v1 sets and was a big part of, or was essentially the part of Energy making it to the playoffs.
Yeah, it really did feel like Team Buffmac there. And here we go, Buffmac. Got a lot of responses to these balloon pushes, but a lot of them out of cycle.
So Fisherman able to pull Fisherman, but not able to pull Electro Wizard. Still going to get death damage on the right-hand side. Heal Spirit will keep that Fish Boy up a little bit longer. As we move past the midway point of regulation time, it is Ruben ahead by a very slight margin.
Fish Boy going to come in, get a few more slaps, going to widen that gap just a bit. 15-33. Buffmac did not expect, I think, that last hit to come in.
This is absolutely huge for Team Queso, Andrew, with match point, Ruben on the board, all the things that you want, and of course, not afraid to go to King of the Hill if they need to.
Yeah, and this is also one of those moments where, if Team Queso were to lose this set and lose the match based off of 2 Ruben 1v1 set losses, you still can't fault him for it. He's done so much for their team. He just needs to come through right now once again.
It's a lot coming down the opposite lane, and look at the timing here with the E-Barbs all over that E-Wiz. Balloon gets healed up. Ruben's Balloon making a beeline to the tower. Yeah. Snowball says bye-bye, Hunter. That's tower down, and looking like Ruben's going to easily take game number 1.
Yeah, and you see Buffmac, it looked like he can't believe what just hit him. It was a perfect sequence of offense there from Ruben. High E-Barbs, turn that Mega Knight around, keeps it in that sizzle from the Inferno, and just like that, 10 seconds left before we get our first game win in Ruben's favor. Buffmac needing to bounce back.
Great deck selection from Ruben. I don't think we saw this from him over the course of yesterday. I could be wrong here, but I don't believe we saw him run Inferno Dragon Loon. And it worked out perfectly for him against Buffmac and got a big-time win. And now, believe it or not, Team Queso, 1 win away from a championship showdown against SK Gaming, the same championship showdown that we had in CRL EU back in 2018.
Yeah, this is absolutely astounding right now when you look at what Queso's done in sets 1 and sets 3. Now Ruben back out doing what you expect out of him, which is just put the hurting on his opponent. Right here you can see the cards that are in Buffmac's hands, so Ruben goes Naked Balloon left-hand side. Buffmac has to cycle a Fisherman high to catch this Fisherman, and then he goes E-Wiz, so it's not like the plays aren't there from Buffmac. He's still playing very, very intelligently. The problem is that Ruben is relentless. The next balloon push comes in pretty quickly after these hits from the Fisherman.
Yeah, you're going to see I believe there's a setup right here, the 6-man split, 3 to the left, 3 to the right. And there's the hard part here is there's not really a great way for him to get onto this Inferno Dragon. So you see the Hunter gets absolutely burned. Balloon comes in behind. There's nothing. The E-Wiz comes out, and Ruben was way ahead. He knew that E-Wiz was coming because it was the only way to deal with any of it. Great job to get the Elite Barbarians out early, and right there, that's GG, well played.
Totally. Those E-Barbs coming out early actually is the reason why the Fisherman makes it so that the Hunter is useless in that exchange. The Fisherman's pulling those E-Barbs in, so the Hunter goes, all right, there's my meal right there. Hunter shoots the E-Barbs instead of focusing on the balloon, which is what Buffmac really, really needed. And as you said, Rich, match point now for Team Queso.
Ruben been going to Balloon a lot over the course of this weekend with the Minor Loon cycle, and then, of course, this one as well. So the big question is, does Ruben go back to that well again, or does he go Minor Wall Breakers, which he's very well known for here in game number 2?
Yeah, a lot of people saying that Minor Wall Breakers E-Barbs deck is the strongest deck in the game. And, of course, there's also the Minor Wall Breakers deck with the Magic Archer and the Tornado and Bomb Tower. Both of those exceptionally strong right now, and we all know Ruben loves those high cycle decks. He loves decks where he can take advantage of you misplaying your defense and being just a little ahead in elixirs. So this is a big one. You think about what Jupiter King did in that first set against Ruben, now not back out because those lineups are already set. Buffmac, who's 0-3 on the day, in a very peculiar position.
Yeah, and this is one of those ones where, look, Tribe Gaming's qualified for World Finals. They still had that ahead of them. But as we said before, the expectations are exceedingly high. And here we are, a second time in a row in semifinals in CRL West with Tribe Gaming facing another elimination right before a championship match. You got to wonder what's going on in that locker room after these matches are over.
Wow, yeah, that's a really good point you make. That's 2 seasons in a row with the first round bye, and if they come out and lose both of their matches that they had after that bye, what does that say about Tribe in playoffs? So here we go. We're going to hop into the second game, a must-win game for Tribe. Yes, they are going to World Finals, but Rich, I think that point you just made is it's almost scary strong. It's so imperative because you look at what's going to happen in World Finals, and a team like Tribe cannot have this happen on that stage.
So here we go. Buffmax setting up the Inferno Dragon left-hand side, Fisherman behind. And Ruben with the seafaring fella himself.
Yeah, Fisherman's all over gameplay today, 2v2 and head-to-head.
Slow start to this one. You see both players going to sit back a little bit, and pulling the trigger on the graveyard now is is Ruben.
Yeah, 6-man going to be there to help clean up. Of course, that one recruit up front going to get pulled right in, and that's a lot of elixir in the hand of Ruben to deal with this push, but Buffmax has elixir to also double down on the left-hand side if he'd like.
Yeah, and Buff's doing the right thing, recognizing he's against Graveyard. He needs to win this thing in single. He needs to be ahead significantly, at least, in single elixir if he's going to win this one, because as we get into triple, it gets really, really rough for him to play defense.
Yeah, and he's got to make sure that a big part of that success is getting these cycled 6-mans as regularly as possible, and Ruben's going to make sure that he keeps up just enough pressure so that Buffmax can't sit at 7 elixir spent and defend comfortably.
Well, the nice part about this version of this Loon Cycle deck for Buffmax is you can cycle the 6-man, the 3-3 split early and kind of be ahead of the game on Graveyards. I'm a bit surprised he's not pushing the pace here a bit more. But he also then has the archers behind that he can use if that 6-man gets too high and then a Graveyard comes in past it.
Yeah, there you go. 6-man split in the back, probably archer split in the back as well at some point as these pushes keep coming in, because that 6-man split and archer split is really going to help deal with Graveyards on both sides. He sees the Mega Knight come down, and he goes, all right, I'm going to hold off on the archers. Let's get this Inferno Dragon down and take care of this big guy.
And this is a lot on the board right now, and this should run right through the Hunter here. And now a good opportunity for a balloon to come down on the right, and there you go, Buffmax plays.
Yeah, really, really nice counter push here from Buffmax. So much on the board. This is definitely going to be a tower down. Oh, wow, the high cage pulls it around, but that Inferno Dragon is just sizzling away. Buffmax gets a big tower take and breathes a little bit of life back into Tribe.
He played the way he needed to play. This is a deck that has the advantage, has a stronger advantage in single, has a medium advantage in 2v2 and double, or close into and double, and then totally loses it when you get into triple elixir. Very, very nicely played to keep that pressure on early and even things up.
Yeah, you see a big, big sigh of relief there from Buffmax, but he knows he's not in the clear yet. He's got one more big game win needed for his squad to get into that finals matchup with SK Gaming. And you can see a smile on his face now, but the stress, even after winning the game, was palpable.
Yeah, it was certainly high stress indeed. So, yeah, taking a look at these pieces, Andrew, the Royal recruits, the archers, a lot of good tools to deal with those Graveyards when you're able to stay in that cycle race. Ruben just not able to quite get enough defense done early on to hold up, and really the winner here was the Inferno Dragon for Buffmax. He was able to protect it significantly and get a lot of those defensive troops off the board and never let it really turn into a counter push.
Yeah, that's a good point you make. You know, that Inferno Dragon behind the 6-man, which is actually what we're seeing right here, great pull on that replay, because it's so hard to get that focus fire on the Inferno Dragon when you've got that 6-man or even just 3 of them up front. You see this Electro Wizard basically useless, and this same Inferno Dragon is going to be the one that takes the tower. All because of that great protection by the 6-man, a beautiful heal spirit, and an excellent snowball to cap it.
Well, the E-Wiz is able to stun lock the heck out of the Fisherman when it's able to focus on the Fisherman. But you see here in a couple times in a row, the Fisherman are able to pull in because the E-Wiz is distracted. And then once they're face-to-face, that stun lock doesn't matter because you're not swinging that anchor around so much. You're just slapping with fishes. So a bit of Fisherman usage there in a matchup that often goes the Electro Wizards' way when they're just head-to-head, solo-y-solo. This time comes out huge and gets a big one, and now we're going to Game 3, and Tribe Gaming has a pretty good shot of sending us all the way to King of the Hill.
Yeah, and that was a big win for Buffmac. It wasn't a small one that came in the last second. That was, I'm going to outplay you, I'm going to out-defend you, and then you're going to deal with like a 30 elixir counter push. And that's what you want to see out of Buff. You need to see him slow down a little bit. He's so good. He knows the interactions. He's got great micro. As you said, he was Team Energy's head-to-head guy. He was their wins. Slow down, Buff. Just do what you did there in game number 2. It was really nice. You saw Ruben get a little aggressive. I really liked that moment, that stalemate moment we had when we were getting to double elixir where both the guys sat back, and you and I were both thinking, why isn't he dropping that 6-man? Well, he just wanted to make sure it was in the perfect place in case Ruben went heavy with the graveyard. So great stuff from Tribe there in set number 4.
So here we go into game number 3. It's Ruben with match point, the second match point in a row. Buffmac trying to extend this to King of the Hill. And then if we do get there, that becomes a very interesting conversation of who has the advantage. JP was great today, but if Ruben has lost twice in 1v1 sets, what kind of cracks in the armor are there when you have 3 very top-tier 1v1 players, head-to-head players out of the Tribe Gaming side? On Team Queso, you have JP playing great, Ruben struggling a bit today, if he loses this one, of course, and then Benny, who most likely coming out is the third one. So a very, very important game for Team Queso.
Yeah, and I think for Team Queso as well, if they do get into that King of the Hill, I don't think you ever are scared to run into anyone if you have Ruben on your roster, but I do think you try to game so that Ruben doesn't have to run into Jupiter King unless it's a last case scenario or a worst case scenario, game 5. I think you try to get Ruben out there to get as many wins as he can without having to face Jupiter. So I don't know if that means he comes in second and Jupiter goes up against someone else first. Whatever that is, I feel like Jupiter has been one of the few people that actually shows that Ruben is beatable in CR.
Here we go, jumping into game number 3 one more time. Match point, a chance for a trip to the championship for Team Queso. Tribe Gaming needs a win to send this to the 5th and final set.
The one thing I do enjoy about watching Buffmac play is I feel like he is all of us. He always is so stressed out and so emotive when things don't go his way. I feel like I'm watching what I would be like on screen.
Yeah, I did an Inside the Play on one of Buffmac's matches a long time ago, and half the episode was just zooming in on Buffmac's face and watching all his, talk about his micro expressions, how much they tell you about what's going on.
So here we go, a straight mirror match so far. 8 elixir spent on both sides, a heal spirit taking 1, the other 7 go into the 6-man.
Archers split in the middle here for Buffmac, and Fisherman comes out into the recruits for Ruben.
And a High Fisherman here to pull that Fisherman back to his side. Going to take it off the board as soon as possible, and then should help with those Archers.
So feeling like it might still be that mirror match. And check it out, Archer tanking for a second for the balloon. Snowball to push that back, keep it in Inferno Dragon range. Will this snowball be enough? No, just for death damage. But that Fish Boy slides on through. That's a nice early lead here for the Brit.
Yeah, that was just a little bit of an overspend. It felt like, however, no snowball in hand to deal with this Inferno Dragon. So Buffmac in a great position. Now just needing to deal with this Inferno. Probably going to eat a little bit of that sizzle.
Yeah, Burn gets into the just beginning of the second phase here, but as we go past the first minute and 40 seconds, it is Buffmac with the lead by about 200 HP in the left-hand side.
Hey, if Buffmac's snowball got there one step sooner, I don't know if it was elixir or if it was reaction, he would have gotten one big drop on that tower. So that's something at least to take home from that last exchange for Tribe Gaming.
So here we go. Again, Buffmac just a little bit better in cycle, it seems, at the moment, with his Fisherman able to play behind all of these split lane heavy troops. So at the moment, it's one of those ones you have to go back to the very beginning of a match to see what people had in hand. But at the moment, it seems like things going the way of Buffmac. Yeah,
this double Fish Boy push. I'm pretty sure he's back around to Snowball. Yes, there it is. Snowball is going to come in. Not going to get a drop, but will get the death damage to help clean up those Archers and that Inferno Dragon.
Well, check that out. The Archer's stuck behind the Fisherman, so gets the Inferno Dragon off the board. Very, very nice work as well. And one more little shot, 13-25. So as we are just 15 seconds away from sudden death overtime, Buffmac adding to his lead.
Yeah, that's a big, big Archer shot there. Just nice little cherry on top. And here we go. Balloon trying to cruise on through with the help of the snowball. I think Buffmac did do it this time. There it is.
Oh, wow. Huge, huge connection. But now you see a lot of pressure coming in the opposite direction. E-Barb's down, 6-man playing in response. 207, keep in mind, this is neither one of these decks, because the same deck, are a direct tower damage deck, so it's going to have to be the actual full-on connection.
Wow.
Snowball played on defense. Minute 42 remaining, 207 on the left-hand side. Do not expect for a second to see Buffmac start spell cycle.
Yeah, this is just beautiful placement and timing out of the Brit, time and time again. Now you see Fisherman cycled early, going to see probably Royal Recruits cycled now up high. There they are, going to try to help those Archers out. Balloon is behind, but Buffmac should be back around to Archers here in a second. Snowball going to come out first. There it is.
Snowball on defense, yeah, there we go. Does that Balloon get a connection? It does not. You know, again, I'd be so curious to see what the starting hand situation was and what the cycle situation was. The thing about this deck, when you have the 6 Elixir E-Barbs, the 7 Elixir for the Royal Recruits, and of course the Balloon being so heavy itself, is that this is a hard deck to repair cycle with.
Rich, is this a mistake or is this the win? Is this a mistake or is this a win? It was a mistake!
Word.
Oh my goodness, he goes Balloon to the right-hand side and throws the game in the final moments.
Unbelievable. Buffmac can't believe it. Had to play defense for one more minute. Goes on offense in the opposite lane. And Ruben knew he had enough to beat that one out. GG, well played. And guess what? Team Queso is back in the finals.
Oh my Lord. That is a heartbreaker if I've ever seen one. The moment that Balloon came out from Buffmac, I felt my stomach drop. Ruben, heavy push on the left-hand side. Balloon supported with Recruits. The composure of that young man is astounding. He takes home that set after having a rough start to his day.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. High-level performance. Team Queso going back to the finals. We're getting a rerun of our 2018 CRL EU finals. What a great one. I mean, rough moment from Buffmac. And that's what you need. Hey, look, greatness and huge win rates come from two things, right? They come from excellent play, and they come from your opponent giving you a door to step through. And Buffmac opened up just a crack, and Ruben burst right through it.
Yeah, we've seen a couple times today these great players in Morton and Ruben not giving up, pushing through. I mean, that game felt like it was game, set, and match towards Buffmac. We were going to go to King of the Hill, and it was all up in the air from that moment on, but just incredible stuff out of Ruben. I mean, the wherewithal to know that he was going to be able to delay that push on the right long enough and get that Balloon to sneak into the tower in time. I mean, if you look at when we were looking at the end of that match, the Balloon's on the tower. It's there. You got a blue Balloon on a red tower on the right-hand side, but Ruben just beats him by a second.
Yeah, that's absolutely bananas. Absolutely bananas. Hopefully we'll get a replay in here in just a moment. And yeah, taking a look at some of the early moments, it really felt like Buffmac. I was getting ready. I was like, we're going to King of the Hill. This will be nice.
Yeah.
We got a full BO5 out of the day today. It felt like Buffmac just had that one going from the early moments. And we'll get to the end here fairly soon. Man, just got a feel for Buffmac, got a feel for Tribe Gaming. On the flip side, I got to be really excited here for Team Queso.
Yeah, I mean, he really needed that very first bomb drop is what we just saw. So here you see another great defense by Ruben. 2 Fishermen on the board, 2 Archers, a Balloon, and a Snowball come down. Ruben somehow prevents that hit, and this is the moment where Buffmac comes in and really gets the game in his favor. E-Barb's up high, Balloon comes in. I believe this is where he does get the drop. No, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Inferno Dragon just steps out of range for a second. And then we get a great defense from Buffmac, and this is kind of the end of it. And it's the Balloon, man. It's the Balloon. We see this Inferno up high. Nice Balloon reset, gonna even things up.
The defensive Snowball holds on to things, and still, at this point, I guess the big thing is to look at the elixir difference, and yeah, he goes Balloon in the right-hand lane, trying to steal a win here. And I don't know what was going on in his hand. Snowball on offense, nothing playing on defense, just kind of let that Balloon meander on the tower. And Ruben going Ruben going for a high-risk, high-reward play, or not Ruben, Buffmac, and that's the problem. Sometimes that reward does not actually come in.
Yeah, and you saw those high E-barbs right into, I think it was 4 recruits there, the balloon behind, and as you said, the snowball on offense, the archers come down late, and it's just a small misstep. I mean, there's a lot of pressure going on in this moment, and pressure apparently did not get to Ruben. A 3-1 win for Queso, who takes down Tribe after taking down Cream Royale Betis. They will be going on to the finals to face off against SK Gaming, of course, who you saw take out Pain Gaming earlier today. All 4 squads aforementioned will be making it to World Finals, however.
And there's one person who is really excited about this final matchup. It's Morten. He wants revenge on that 2018. Morten put SK on his back in that 2018 season, carried them all the way through, and then they just got blown out by Team Queso. I think it might have been a 3-set sweep, if I remember correctly. And Team Queso went to World Finals, of course, SK regrouping to build a team around Morten. And now it's another chance here for Morten to take the Western Championship against Kuchi and Benny, who he faced off back in those playoffs.
Yeah, that is crazy. It feels like a lifetime ago. And, you and I like to have these MVP conversations quite a bit. And on the weekend now, this becomes a very interesting one because I think going into today, you and I were both feeling like it leaned towards Wallace after what he did in King of the Hill in 2v2. After what we saw out of Ruben yesterday and clutching it out today, does it feel like he edges it out, or do we go to Benny and Kuchi, who pick up 2v2 sets in a row?
That's actually a really hard question to answer, right? Because Benny and Kuchi did so much to set up Ruben in those ones. Man, you're putting me on the spot. I'm the one putting you on the spot. I kind of feel like you have to go to Benny and Kuchi in this one. They set up their head-to-head players so in matchups that people didn't expect them to win. Especially with the way that Ruben kind of was a little bit off for part of it today. We don't know how these would have gone either way, but it all started with Benny and Kuchi getting big-time wins in these 2v2 sets and matchups that people were voting against them in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good way that you put it, is that no one really expected them to win these 2v2 sets. Yes, maybe had a better chance against Cream, but I thought there was no way they were going to win the 2v2 against Tribe today. Just no way. And they straight out played them. This is what a squad should look like, though. You can't just rely on one guy to do it for the entire season. So today, IMJP steps up. He does his job. But Benny and Kuchi picking up 2v2 set wins in a row made it so there was so much less pressure for their big-time head-to-head guys as they move through this BO5 set.
Yeah, I mean, if Benny and Kuchi don't win that 2v2, at this point, we're at the very minimum going on to King of the Hill, although maybe who knows what the pressure is on the front end either-wise. And part of why, Ruben won 3 sets this weekend out of 4, but Buffmac kind of threw that last one there a little bit. So, I don't know, I like your thought there on Benny and Kuchi, and you take a look at the predictions here, and everyone got it right, or we all got it right with SK Gaming. Everyone got it wrong today with Tribe.
Yeah. Really, really surprising there. And no surprise to see our good friends Bruno and Deco picking Pain Gaming. Obviously, their home team. Sad to see them lose, but I'm sure happy to see them going on to the World Finals. And yep, Tribe Gaming. What an upset by Team Queso. And that's, again, why I think Kuchi and Benny deserve that MVP, is because no one, not you or myself, gave them the chance to win this 2v2. So here we go. SK Gaming and Team Queso. I mean, these are the two of the squads that we talked about coming into this season that we thought would be here at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because these are two teams that were really, really good. SK great in 2019. Queso getting very close. Of course, people forget that they were third place in that fall season last year as well. But two teams that underperformed in the spring this time around, both getting back on track here in the fall, and we have a great championship. And keep in mind, we also have a third-place match next weekend as well between Pain and Tribe, with a fairly significant chunk of the prize pool on the line.
Yeah, there's $225,000 up for grabs being split between our teams, and obviously going to be a lot larger for that second place and first place team. Third and fourth place, big drop-off there as well. So right now, we're trying to talk through who we think our MVP is. Rich and I obviously thinking it's Benny and Kuchi, but I don't know, man. I mean, people arguing for Ruben going 3-1 in sets, but like you said, I don't think that he would have gotten to where he was without the help of them in 2v2. But here we go, MVP of the weekend. No surprises, honestly, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is voting across all the different casters booths. The Spanish casters putting their votes in for Ruben. I'm not sure where the Portuguese duo came in on their votes, but look, there's nothing wrong about saying Ruben the MVP.
Yeah.
Coming out on the weekend, 3-1 in sets, huge for Team Queso getting past Cream in the first match of the weekend, and then getting it done here, so they didn't have to go to that King of the Hill. And look, you know, you talk about MVP of the weekend. Ruben's the MVP of the overall CRL season.
Feels like
so.
it.
It's hard to argue against this one in this stage. Congrats, Ruben, on your MVP. And now what we're gonna get in the finals is a matchup between the two top players of the season.
Yeah.
And as of today, Morten has now overtaken Ruben. 74% win rate across all sets on the season for Morten. 73% win rate for Ruben. It's gonna be a great one next weekend.
Yeah, it is. 2v2 set, we know Benny and Kuchi for Team Queso, Morten and Sam for SK Gaming. Then Ruben and Javi probably in set 1. Then, most likely, I think Sam and IMJP in set 2. And then maybe we go Morten and Ruben again in set 3 of that 1v1, or a 4th set if we're going through correctly. That, for me, is enough to get my notifications turned on, my subscription set in. Hit that follow button. Come on, guys. After these 2 days of matches, how can you not want to be here for our finals and our 3rd and 4th placement? It's been some of the best gameplay we've seen all season long, has been like that. And we are, of course, one step closer to actually getting to Shanghai, China to see those world finals again. CRL East is some tough competition, man. They have been incredible all season long.
You know, we'll talk about this more as we get there, especially during World Finals. CRL East having a longer break, their season ending early. They've had a chance to sit back, and you know they're watching very, very closely as they get a lot of information on these teams, because these Western teams are playing through these entire playoffs in the meta that we're going to see during World Finals. So, you know, the East getting a lot of game tape, so they'll be watching closely. Hopefully, you'll be watching closely as well. Andrew, we go into our championship weekend next Saturday. It all ends right there. Can Team Queso keep this magic going against the most dominant team historically throughout the Western region?
It's just so crazy when you look at this on paper, because it feels 100% SK Gaming should take the 2v2, but now we don't know with Benny and Kuchi. It's going to be all about someone stopping Ruben in 1v1. Will Javi step up, or will it be Morten once again taking home a 1v1 set as the 2v2 specialist? I mean, you talk about the 2 MVPs on the season, those are the guys. Ruben and Morten have been stellar since day one.
And talk about JP also getting in rhythm as well. So you know all the Spanish fans for Team Queso, very, very excited for this one. Of course, we're very excited for it.
Oh, yeah.
Next weekend, right back here. Don't miss it. Our championship, SK Gaming and Team Queso. We'll see you next Saturday. I'm Rich Slayton. That's Andrew Guy. Thanks for watching.